The cold school beauty was up to no good in the supermarket, not expecting that I'd use my phone to record the evidence right on the spot. Seeing this, the school beauty wanted to run away, so I tightly grabbed the back of her hand. "Miss School Beauty, you're busted." Being caught red-handed, the young girl was trembling with fear, but I had absolutely no intention of letting her off the hook. Just because in my past life I was afraid she'd feel awkward, so I let her leave only to find out the very next day that she passed away in a traffic accident. Having been reborn for another lifetime, I must ensure she stays completely safe and sound, appearing in my high school years. But because I'm not clear on the exact time the accident happens to pull this thorn from my heart, today, even if I have to keep her here overnight, so be it, as long as she can safely live through today. So this time I didn't let her go and dragged her straight into a blind spot, then flashed a wicked smile, pulling out my phone to replay the video from just now. Hey, classmate, you wouldn't want this video to be known by the teachers and friends, right? Hearing that, the girl's cheeks flushed even redder, her big eyes brimming with tears, as she silently begged me, but I ignored this trick directly, holding out my right hand. "Whatever you took, pull it out yourself. Don't make me personally frisk you. It's really unfortunate for you, classmate Lin. This supermarket happens to be opened by my dad." Lin Nianchu raised her head, tears finally welling up in her eyes, but she didn't say a single word, pulling 3 loaves of bread out of her backpack. I was a bit stunned. The things she took turned out to be the cheapest kind of bread. If you went through the trouble of shoplifting, why didn't you take something expensive and delicious? At least a chicken leg or a sausage would do so. I dumped all the contents of her backpack onto the table. Textbooks, summer homework, stationery along with a pencil case, and a white sanitary pad. The small face of Lin Nianchu instantly turned pale, and she immediately rushed up, tightly hiding the sanitary pad in the palm of her hand, then forcefully yanked back her backpack, but unexpectedly the strap snapped with a pop. There were only 3 loaves of bread. She glared at me weakly, her eyes red, making that pure and innocent face of hers look even more pitiful and moving, so I immediately glared back. "You still dare to be fierce with me?" I deliberately ignored the torn backpack, snatched it back, and casually tossed it onto the table. "Do you think I'm that easy to fool? Carrying such a big backpack in, yet you only stole 3 of the cheapest loaves of bread." Saying that, I slowly stepped forward, pressing close. In a panic, she raised her 2 small hands, shrinking back against her chest. I looked down at her clothes. This area was bulging. Could there be something else hidden? She immediately wrapped her arms around her chest. "No, I don't want to hear explanations. Take off your jacket yourself. Don't make me use my hands. Or do you want to wait until tomorrow for this matter to blow up all over the school?" She was instantly terrified. "Don't." She slowly raised her hands, and the zipper at the collar was slowly pulled down, revealing a slender snow-white neck, a faded old t-shirt, and half of her delicate collarbone faintly showing. Her skin was truly very white. For the first time, I realized that the space beneath the clothes was actually so vast. Lin Nianchu's eyes were red, her gaze full of humiliation as she spoke. "See clearly now. There's nothing hidden." I leaned in closer to observe a bit, a faint scent of body wash wafting over, blending with the aroma of laundry detergent. "Isn't there still another layer of clothing? Why don't you—" She lightly bit her lip. "This is the last layer. I can't take it off." I nodded, and didn't make any more excessive demands, but I discovered a noteworthy point. When a young girl is frisked so closely by the opposite sex, her gaze should normally be full of disgust and coldness, but Lin Nianchu seemed to only have bashfulness and annoyance. At that moment, I instantly understood. Lin Nianchu didn't hate me at all. If I thought deeper into it, before this it was highly possible. She already had a certain level of good impression toward me. But in my memory, she and I had never spoken to each other in class and had never even locked eyes once. Could it be because my youth was just too foolish? Recalling those cringe teenage days gives me a massive headache. Back then, the only person in my heart was Shen Shiyu, acting like a total simp. The other party only needed to act hot and cold, to keep me tossing and turning all night, unable to sleep. Thinking back now, I was truly an idiot that year. I took 2 steps back, my gaze shifting downward. "You're not hiding anything in your pants, are you?" The young girl immediately and obediently turned her 2 pockets inside out. I ignored that, only quietly glancing at the wall clock. Only a few minutes had passed. That hit-and-run car probably hadn't even reached the intersection yet. So I continued to look for trouble. "What does turning your pockets inside out prove? Let me see for myself." Saying that, I squatted down, preparing to touch those shorts. Lin Nianchu was truly in a panic this time, panting anxiously. I had already anticipated this reaction, so I told her to jump in place a few times, to see if anything would fall out. Seeing Lin Nianchu standing completely still, I spoke up. Either let me check myself, or jump in place a few times. Take your pick. Hearing these words, Lin Nianchu chose to obediently comply. Stealing things was wrong after all, so she had no reason to talk back. She slightly raised her small arms, as if gathering some strength to jump in place once. I also intended to make a pretense of looking down at the ground, but the auto-aim mode wasn't turned off, so I reflexively looked upward instead. But she was looking down in deep concentration, so she didn't notice my gaze. She jumped once more. I hurriedly said, "All right, that's enough. If you keep jumping, I'll get dizzy and lightheaded. I'm not lying to you. I really only took 3 loaves of bread. Now that I've returned them to you, can I leave?" I couldn't think of a reason to keep her here for the moment. Seeing her about to walk outside, I called out after her, "Wait a minute." She turned her head back tightly, clutching the backpack to her chest, her beautiful eyes looking at me defensively. I couldn't help but ask, "Are you that hungry?" Hearing this question, Lin Nianchu lowered her head in silence. I didn't say anything more either, tearing open a loaf of bread and handing it to her. "Finish eating before you go." The storage room fell into silence. Lin Nianchu didn't raise her head for a long time, nor did she reach out her hand, only tightly clutching her backpack and standing in place like she was being punished. Her fragile figure looked as if a gust of wind could blow her over. "The wrapper is torn, so it can't be sold anymore. Take it." I forcefully stuffed the bread into her hand. A few seconds later, Lin Nianchu slowly raised her hand, bringing the bread to her mouth and taking small bites. After that, she ate faster and faster, but suddenly, 2 tears like broken pearls fell from the corners of her eyes, hitting the ground. She was crying. From the moment she was caught until she was frisked, she remained stubborn, not shedding a single tear, until the moment the bread entered her mouth. She ultimately couldn't hold it in any longer. I quietly watched her, turned my head away, tore open the second loaf, and pressed it into her other hand. Then I patted my pockets, only to find that I didn't have any tissues. Damn it. My 17-year-old self went out without carrying tissues. A real man should always have tissues ready on him. Although I didn't know what kind of crisis had happened. In Lin Nianchu's family, even if they were poor, it was already the 21st century. Why would a top-tier student be pushed to the point of having to go into a supermarket to steal bread like this? After finishing the second one, Lin Nianchu glanced at the third loaf. While I turned away, she walked over, unwrapped the remaining bread, and began to eat. While eating, she opened her backpack, pulled out a pen and paper, and scribbled a few lines on the paper. August 30th, 2010. Lin Nianchu owes Chen Huayan 3 loaves of bread. After taking the piece of paper, I was completely stunned. The 3 words Chen Huayan, along with the handwriting on the paper, matched perfectly with the vote in my memory. Only at this moment did it dawn on me. The person who secretly supported me to become the sports vice monitor last semester was actually Lin Nianchu, not Shen Xiu. Back then, I was absolutely sure that Shen Xiu voted for me, so I became even more hyped up and simped after her, while Shen Xiu just casually enjoyed my affection. As for Shen Xiu, she just casually enjoyed the favor. It just so happened that my family opened a supermarket, and Shen Xiu had taken things without paying many times: mineral water, drinks, chewing gum, and even sanitary pads. I placed the IOU on the table. "Do you think writing an IOU means today's matter is just over?" In her heart, Lin Nianchu had already prepared for the worst. "How do you want to settle it?" I waved my hand. "Just kidding, just now I tore your backpack, so I'll compensate you with a brand new one. I can sew it back myself. I've made my decision on this matter. Chen Huayan, I don't like owing anyone anything." After saying that, I led Lin Nianchu to the backpack display counter. Her gaze immediately stopped on a pink backpack, clearly showing a look of longing. I immediately took that backpack and stuffed it into her hands. "This is for you." No need, my backpack was already broken to begin with. She stubbornly placed the backpack back in its original spot. "If you don't want today's matter to spread all over the school, then obediently take." Lin Nianchu paused for a moment, then took the backpack down. After that, she added another item to the IOU from just now: 1 backpack. Her expression was a bit bitter, seemingly feeling like she couldn't afford to pay it back. Looking at that expression, I couldn't help but laugh. "Are you really writing an IOU? Then it's perfect. Follow me." Just as we arrived at the stationery section, I felt someone bump into my back. Turning my head around to look, I saw Lin Nianchu clutching her forehead and stepping back. "Watch where you're going. Do you like using your forehead to headbutt me that much? Next time I'll let you headbutt me, to your heart's content." Saying that, I grabbed a pink pencil case and stuffed it into her hands. Lin Nianchu saw the price tag and immediately refused. "I'm not taking it. If you want today's matter, I don't have that much money to pay you back." Lin Nianchu bluntly interrupted me. I looked at her with interest. "I didn't intend to make you pay with money anyway. Or you can think about paying me back in another way." "In another way?" Lin Nianchu slightly tilted her head, not knowing what she was thinking about in her head. Seeing that I was smiling cheekily, While looking at her, she hurriedly avoided my gaze, but the tips of her ears, turning red completely, betrayed her. Next, I led Lin Nianchu to wander around the supermarket again. But when we reached a certain counter, Nianchu turned around in embarrassment and wanted to leave. Freeze! If you don't want today's matter to spread across the whole school, then freeze. Let me tell you, I'm a delinquent student. A delinquent student dares to do anything. Lin Nianchu only now turned back to look at me. I'm not taking sanitary pads. You're really not taking them? I made a quick calculation. In your backpack, you have one piece, and you're wearing one piece. You only have exactly 2 pieces left. Seeing that Lin Nianchu didn't know how to talk back, I smiled, grabbed a pack of sanitary pads, and tossed it toward her. Lin Nianchu was slightly startled, reaching out to catch it, her gaze a bit surprised. After adding it to the IOU, she secretly brought the pack to her nose to take a sniff. In her eyes, a few hints of surprise and joy flashed. It turned out this kind actually had a fragrance. Previously, she had always used the retail kind, which had no fragrance at all. After that, we walked out to the main entrance. I told her to be careful on the road, pay attention to vehicles, get home safely, and go to school normally tomorrow. As long as you behave, today's matter will be treated as if it never happened. Got it. Lin Nianchu, of course, didn't understand why I was giving these instructions, but she still gave a slight nod. Then she carefully used both hands to hand the IOU to me. This IOU is for you. I will definitely keep my word. I nodded, then opened the door of the supermarket for her, but unexpectedly ran into 3 young, beautiful girls walking over. I suddenly remembered that on August 30th that year, about half an hour after Lin Nianchu left, Shen Xiu had brought her friends here. Since the people involved in that wrong voting incident are all here, then this matter should also be settled once and for all today. I called Lin Nianchu back, telling her not to leave just yet and to stay to watch a good show. Years ago, Shen Xiu, regarding the relationship between us, used a style of neither accepting nor rejecting. Gifts were accepted completely, but when we were together, she always maintained her distance. She said from now until graduation would be treated as a trial period. Challenge, telling me that I had to perform well. My dad was over at that end, busy stocking up goods, while I was over at this end acting like a shipper, supplying free goods to Shen Xiu. That simp-like behavior of mine made even my 14-year-old younger sister look down on me. It wasn't until my sophomore year of college that it finally dawned on me. Shen Xiu had been secretly dating an upperclassman for a year. My heart died completely back then, and I started focusing entirely on business. In the end, by my early 30s, I already owned a net worth of hundreds of billions. By that time, Shen Xiu had already been abandoned by her ex-husband, left as a single mother raising her child. Only at that moment did I truly wake up. It turned out that for all those years, I had done so many ridiculous things, all for this woman. Right at this moment, when Shen Xiu saw me and someone who didn't have the slightest connection to me like Lin Nianchu standing next to each other, she immediately said, sardonically with a smirk, "Wow, Chen Huayan, today you even know how to strike up a conversation with Lin Nianchu. So do you think Lin Nianchu is prettier, or am I prettier? She just came here to buy some things. Classmate Shen, is there anything you want to get today?" The female student next to her covered her mouth in surprise. "Xiu, your classmate's family really opened a supermarket. This supermarket is so huge." Shen Xiu looked a bit smug, acting generous as she waved her hand. "That's right. You guys just look around freely. Take whatever you like. Today's my treat." Her 2 girlfriends showed looks of admiration, wasting no time to be polite as they scavenged for items all over the supermarket. Just a moment later, those 2 were clutching a huge pile of snacks and piled them onto the checkout counter, while Shen Xiu, still stuck in her old ways, grabbed a few packs of chewing gum and soft drinks. "Chen Huayan, get us 2 large plastic bags." I gave a cold reply, then grabbed the barcode scanner and scanned the items one by one. Shen Xiu froze in disbelief. "What are you doing?" "Ringing them up. What else? Didn't you guys come here to buy things?" Hearing these words, the 2 friends behind Shen Xiu began to mutter, "Xiu, didn't you say we didn't have to pay?" Shen Xiu lost face and snapped at me. "Chen Huayan, why are you being so stingy today? It's just a few snacks. It's not even that expensive." Hearing this, I burst out laughing. "Exactly, it's not expensive. You also said it's your treat, but don't tell me you can't afford to pay." Shen Xiu was instantly left speechless. Lin Nianchu, standing by the side, blinked her eyes, extremely surprised by this drama. Suddenly, Shen Xiu slammed her hand on the checkout counter. "Chen Huayan, don't tell me you're being serious. I'm really getting angry now. Look at you getting all anxious. So what if you're angry? Are you planning to rob us in broad daylight?" Shen Xiu was stunned, suddenly thinking of a possibility. Could it be that yesterday you saw me hanging out with the class monitor at the mall? Chen Huayan, why are you so narrow-minded? the class monitor, and I only ran into each other by chance. Sorry about that. Yesterday I slept at home the whole day and didn't go to any mall at all. Then what on earth possessed you today? I'm perfectly normal. You buy things you have to pay. Isn't that just common sense? Classmate Lin Nianchu, don't you agree? Hearing that Lin Nianchu turned her face away and didn't answer because she had just shoplifted moments ago, feeling that she had absolutely no right to answer this question. Shen Shiyu's two friends felt too embarrassed to take it anymore. How about we forget it? Shiyu, we don't really want to eat them that much anyway. Yeah, it's not worth starting an argument over this. But Shen Shiyu refused to let it go and immediately dropped her ultimate card. Chen Huayan, let me tell you, yesterday the class monitor already confessed to me. Hearing this, I just sneered. So let me guess you didn't accept, but you didn't reject either, telling him that studying is the most important thing right now, and that you guys should wait until graduation to see right. Being exposed by me without any mercy, Shen Shiyu instantly went mad with rage. Chen Huayan, what is the meaning of this? It means nothing. Are you going to buy them or not? If not, put them back where they belong. Those two girls immediately stepped forward intending to return the items, but Shen Shiyu stopped them. Chen Huayan, is this how you like me? Is this how you show off in front of me? Do you believe that tomorrow I'll go and accept the class monitor's confession? I directly clapped my hands enthusiastically, laughing as I sang, "Happy confession to you then." Seeing this scene, Lin Nianchu couldn't hold it in any longer and almost burst out laughing, but seeing me look over, she quickly cleared her throat and bit her lip, pretending to look out the window. She hurriedly turned her face away, her gaze flashing with a hint of embarrassment. Shen Shiyu tugged at her two friends' arms, preparing to storm off. You definitely followed me to the mall and spied on me. Chen Huayan, you're going to regret this, I suddenly shouted out, calling them back. Freeze. Shen Shiyu actually thought that I had regretted my actions, but in the next second, I slammed my hand hard on the checkout counter. Regret my ass. Wherever you took those items from, put them right back for me. Shen Shiyu stood there completely dumbfounded with her mouth wide open, her hands trembling uncontrollably as her eyes involuntarily turned red with rage. As for her two friends, they had long heard of my notorious reputation as a school bully, so they hurriedly returned the items to their original spots. Once they were done, they booked it over as fast as they could, dragging Shen Shiyu along to slip away. After dealing with that bunch of nuisances, I felt completely refreshed. Lin Nianchu clutched her backpack and stepped in front of me. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. I didn't say a single word, but instead took a hair clip and gently clipped it onto her loose hair. Lin Nianchu was slightly stunned, only snapping out of it after a moment, hurriedly removing the hair clip. I'm not taking it. This is a thank you gift for the sports vice monitor election last semester. Thanks for casting a vote for me. Lin Nianchu's gaze began to nervously dodge around. A few seconds later, she decisively stuffed the hair clip back into my hand, then quickly turned around and ran off as if escaping for her life. Be careful on the road. Just walk, because if you dare to run on the streets, I'll report you to the school tomorrow. Lin Nianchu didn't turn her head back, but she still obediently slowed down, switching from a run to a walk. I had pretty much figured her out, no matter whether the threat was actually credible or not. As long as I brought up reporting her for shoplifting, it would always work like a charm on her. Haha, next time I should use this trick to do something way more exciting with her. When school reopened on September 1st and we returned to the classroom, I surprisingly found out that I was ranked second from the bottom again, while the one sitting right at the very bottom of the class was none other than Lin Nianchu. This top-tier student had rarely ever scored a flat 0. As for the reason, it was actually very simple. She had skipped the final exams last semester, and just like that, Lin Nianchu naturally became my seatmate. Our homeroom teacher, Jo Jung, flat out gave me a warning. I'm warning you. You are absolutely not allowed to disturb her while she's studying in class. If I catch you doing it, I'll make you stand in front of the flagpole in the middle of the schoolyard. With my thick skin, I shamelessly asked back, then what counts as bullying her? Teacher, saying that I poked Lin Nianchu's arm with my hand. Does doing this count as bullying? The ear on that side of the girl's face instantly flushed bright red as she slightly shrank back to the side. Jo Jung's face turned red with anger. He grabbed his ruler, intending to teach me a lesson, but I easily dodged it and casually strolled right into the classroom. Lin Nianchu kept her head low and followed closely behind me. Under the judging stares of everyone, her other ear flushed bright red as well. Walking over to our seats in the front row, next to the window in the corner of the classroom, Lin Nianchu focused her gaze, staring intently at the textbook in front of her. Suddenly, I leaned sideways completely onto her desk, resting my face, boldly and unashamedly admiring the breathtaking side profile of the girl. Lin Nianchu was startled, tightly gripping the ballpoint pen in her hand. Her panicked gaze immediately dropped down, avoiding any eye contact with me, her eyes locked onto the tips of her own shoes. Both of her ears were burning red and she was a bit flustered. Go back to your seat. But the more I looked at her like this, the more amused and delighted I felt inside. It wasn't until Zheng slammed the podium desk hard with all his might that I finally took my eyes off Lin Nianchu's face. However, from the corner of my eye, I still unscrupulously and secretly observed her. A minute later, Lin Nianchu couldn't take it anymore. What are you looking at? Nothing, just wondering why your mouth is so tiny. Lin Nianchu tightly pursed her lips together, pressing them tight to try and hide them from my sight, and turned her head completely the other way. I also retracted my gaze, pulling a bag of piping hot meat buns out of my backpack, and slid it over. Eat it all during recess. I'm not eating it. Just try saying you don't want it, and see if I bring up that incident, or not. She immediately and obediently took the bag of buns, her beautiful eyes glaring at me full of rage. See, isn't it better to just behave? Now isn't that much better? Just behaving is fine. Zheng slammed the podium desk hard again. Next up is English class. Pull out all your books and get ready. The teacher felt uneasy, so he glanced toward the window corner, pointing his finger straight at me, using a fierce glare to silently threaten me for a bit. Only then did he willingly leave the classroom. Meanwhile, the English teacher, holding her lesson plans and textbook, had already been waiting outside the door for a long time. Zheng smiled, nodded in greeting, and then stepped past, making way for her to enter the class. A pair of endless long legs, wrapped in black stockings, appeared before everyone's eyes. The English teacher's name was Wen Yuan. She hadn't graduated from college that long ago. Her appearance couldn't be considered extremely beautiful, only decent at best, but to make up for it, she had a perfect body shape, a great aura, and a good personality. She really hoped to blend in and get close to the students. The bell for class rang. I also pulled out my English textbook, looking at the clean and pristine portraits of the characters printed inside. Opening to the first page, my hand got itchy again, wanting to doodle dark circles under the eyes and a mustache on them. But I had to forcefully hold back my right hand. No more doodling around. In this life, I have to study hard. That cursed, idiotic teenage memory. Lin Nianchu turned to check me out, but she didn't say anything. Because the boys in class were truly delusional at times, she frequently caught me walking perfectly fine, only to suddenly have the spasm jumping up high and mimicking a basketball shooting motion. Every time that happened, Lin Nianchu would stop dead in her tracks, staring blankly. To avoid being caught by me that she was peeking, she would lower her head and brush right past me. Ever since then, she felt that my personality was very weird. Whenever I saw a trash can, my hand would automatically twitch by reflex. Regardless of whether there was a crumpled piece of paper or an empty bottle around, I absolutely had to pick it up and toss it toward the trash can, drawing a perfect Bezier curve. If that perfect Bezier curve failed to hit the target, then I'd feel extremely embarrassed, awkwardly running back to pick it up, returning to the original spot and tossing it all over again. There was one time I stood tossing it for an entire recess without it going in, getting so mad I could explode. At that time, Lin Nianchu, sitting inside the classroom, turned her head back, using her beautiful eyes to blankly stare at the busy back of the youth out in the hallway, mesmerized as she watched for the entire recess. I originally intended to strike up a conversation with Lin Nianchu when I suddenly heard Teacher Wen Yuan call on me to read the first paragraph of the text to the whole class. I stood up, looked at the first paragraph, and let out an incredibly fluent reading voice. The exact moment the first English word slipped out of my mouth, when Yuan's gaze instantly shifted. In surprise, she took her eyes off the lesson plan, looking up at me. All the students in class also turned their heads in unison. Lin Nianchu was also completely startled, turning over to look, her beautiful eyes staring intently at the guy next to her. In her heart, she secretly thought his pronunciation so accurate, and it is even a British accent. When Yuan, out of habit, leaned against the edge of the teacher's desk, one leg slightly bent. This action made that guy, Ma Kai-ming, sitting in the corner of the class, instantly light up his eyes. What did you do this past summer break? Did you go abroad? Even so, it shouldn't be possible to get this good this fast. I answered her very seriously, of course. I stayed at home, buried my head, and studied hard. After all, I still have to take the college entrance exam. Hearing this sentence, the gaze of Lin Nianchu next to me flashed with a hint of surprise and joy for a fleeting moment. When Yuan heard this and looked over, I'm very glad you have this mindset, Chen Huayan. I'm really looking forward to your performance. Sit down. This flex session actually allowed me to show off successfully. Before being reborn, I originally went abroad to expand my business, so I was forced to communicate in English every single day. Happily unable to contain myself, I smacked my hand down. Who would have thought I'd accidentally slapped Lin Nianchu's thigh? Lin Nianchu shrank back in fear, and getting so angry she couldn't take it anymore, she raised her tiny fist and landed a punch on my bicep, her beautiful eyes glaring at me furiously. If you touch my thigh again, I'll tell the homeroom teacher. It was a total accident. I originally intended to slap my own thigh. But being punched on the arm by Lin Nianchu like this, it didn't feel painful at all. Instead, it actually felt kind of good. I patted her arm again. How about I teach you spoken English later and you tutor me in other subjects? Is that so? Lin Nianchu didn't answer right away. Only a moment later did she slide a note over to me, agreeing to my request. By the time school let out, I reminded Lin Nianchu to eat. Lin Nianchu pulled the bag of buns out, carefully offering it back to me with both hands. I'm not hungry. I'm not used to eating breakfast in the morning. I already told you, just eat it. Don't make me lose my temper. Hearing that, she cautiously opened the plastic bag, bringing the bun close to her tiny lips and taking small bites. The moment she hit the meat filling inside both of her eyes, suddenly lit up, and her next bite was noticeably bigger. In just a couple of bites, she completely demolished one. Seemingly realizing that her eating manner was a bit unrefined, Lin Nianchu looked up and gave me an embarrassed glance, the tips of her ears turning red. I looked at her with an extremely satisfied expression. How is this feeling any different from raising your own kid? After stuffing the second one down inside the plastic bag, there were still 2 buns left. I'm full, I'll save the rest for lunch. I told you to eat, so just eat it. Stop nagging. Lin Nianchu gave me a cold glare, seemingly wanting to rise up and rebel against the youth's domineering, overbearing ways. I leaned my face super close to hers. You still dare to glare at me? Try glaring again and see what happens. She immediately opened the plastic bag and obediently took the 3rd bun, bringing it to her small mouth. But her eating speed this time was much slower, just like she was reluctant and couldn't bear to finish it all at once. Sigh, watching this scene, I thought to myself, man, you really have to use force with this girl for it to work. Using this shoplifting secret to threaten her, I might be able to keep her under my thumb for a lifetime. Right at this moment, Chen Xiu aggressively walked over toward me. Lin Nianchu saw this and her face instantly turned ice cold. She turned her body the other way, seemingly focusing on munching her bun, but her ears were perked up, eavesdropping on the drama. I glanced at Chen Xiu. What are you doing? Come out here. I have something to say to you. But when Chen Xiu reached the door, she realized I was still sitting in my original spot. Chen Huayan, you're getting more and more out of line. I instantly lost my patience. What did I do? If you have something to say, just say it right here. I'm too lazy to walk back and forth. Shen Xiu had no choice but to walk back resentfully. Because there were many people in class, it wasn't convenient for her to make a scene, so she could only lower her voice and hiss through her teeth. You better knock it off. What I said earlier about accepting Zhao Zimo's confession was just to scare you. It was just a little joke. Shen Xiu timidly glanced toward Zhao Zimo, lowering her voice further. I don't like him at all. So you like me then? Shen Xiu's face flushed. I already said, we're still young right now and can't date. Let's wait until graduation to talk about it. Suddenly, Lin Nianchu spoke up in a cold voice to remind us. The teacher is here. Shen Xiu, irritated, stamped her foot and had to reluctantly head back to her own seat. Time flew by until lunchtime. Shen Xiu wanted to ask me to go grab lunch together, but she was flat out rejected by me. In the end, having no other choice, she could only head off to eat alone in frustration. I turned my head to look at Lin Nianchu next to me. Every single time, she always went to eat lunch so late. What on earth, does she eat, or does she just skip it entirely? Seeing her still burying her head and studying hard, I had no choice but to slump down on the desk and take a nap. 5 minutes later, steady snoring sounds could already be heard in the classroom. Lin Nianchu turned to look at me. Seeing drool flowing down the corner of my mouth, she hurriedly took out a tissue, leaned her body forward, folded it, and then carefully brought it close to me. In reality, she possessed a secret that nobody knew. She had already known Chen Huayan since middle school. In her mind, it contained a lot of memories about this youth, but she also understood perfectly clear that the youth didn't remember any of it at all, or perhaps he had never even cared. But it didn't matter. As long as she remembered it, that was enough. Lin Nianchu thought up to this point and couldn't help but lift her fair fingertip, gently touching my cheek. Seeing my snoring suddenly stop, she immediately pulled her hand back at the speed of light, sitting up straight with her heart thumping wildly. Waiting until my snoring sounded steady once again. Only then did Lin Nianchu let out a sigh of relief. After sitting for a while longer, she gently stood up, put on her backpack, and walked out of the classroom. This was her fixed lunchtime. Arriving at the cafeteria, the students had already finished their lunch long ago. The cafeteria was completely empty and quiet. and the cleaning ladies had already started clearing things up. Lin Nianchu quietly walked over to the food counter. The short-haired lunch lady saw her and let out a sigh. "It's you again, little girl. How many times have I told you? Come a bit earlier next time." Every single time at this hour the food is completely gone, leaving only the gravy. Lin Nianchu forced a smile. "It's fine. I can just eat plain white rice." She's the top scorer of the entire grade, didn't you know? Coming late must definitely be because she was busy, studying. A long-haired lady nearby recognized Lin Nianchu and immediately spoke up to defend her. The short-haired lady chuckled, hurriedly looking at Lin Nianchu with a warm gaze. "Look at her. She looks as beautiful as a fairy, and her grades are so amazing. If my son could be even half as good as you, that'd be great. Let me scoop a bit more rice for you. I'll also ladle some meat broth over it for you." After getting the food, it only cost 50 cents. After swiping her meal card, Lin Nianchu glanced at the balance. There was only exactly 5 NDT and 20 cents left in the card. 50 cents for a meal. Her was already a bit of a luxury. But if she didn't eat, where would she get the energy to study? She had tried skipping meals before. Lin Nianchu carried her bowl of white rice, found a hidden corner, sat down and ate slowly, not leaving a single grain of rice behind. At the same time, I suddenly woke up with a start, but found that Lin Nianchu had vanished. Checking the clock, only now did I realize I had slept for half an hour. At this hour, it'd be a miracle if the cafeteria still had food left. Walking over to the cafeteria, I asked the short-haired lunch lady, "Auntie, was there a female student who looks very pretty coming here to eat just now?" "That's right, that girl studies very late every single time. She comes, there's only plain rice left." After getting some food, I found a seat and sat down, beginning to think. It seemed that at noon, Lin Nianchu only ate plain rice with gravy. Of course, studying hard was just an excuse. Lin Nianchu was only finding a logical reason for herself to justify the fact that she could only eat the leftovers of everyone else. But kids at this age all have very high self-esteem, and Lin Nianchu was no exception. This I understood very well, but what made me wonder was, where did she go after finishing her lunch at noon? When the first period of the afternoon arrived, the homeroom teacher, Zhou Zheng, and the class monitor, Zhao Zimo, walked in together. Since the autumn sports meet was coming up on September 20th, they came to ask everyone about the requirements for the class uniform. Unexpectedly, all the boys shouted in unison, "Gyaru uniforms, Gyaru uniforms." Only the girls remained collectively silent, their cheeks slightly flushed. Only Shen Shiyu and a few other female students showed a bit of excitement. Girls at this age didn't frequently wear short skirts, whether at home or at school. Everyone was quite conservative. I turned to the side to look, finding Lin Nianchu acting as if it had nothing to do with her, burying her head in her book. I retracted my gaze, saying nothing at all, quietly watching the homeroom teacher on the podium and the noisy crowd of students. I, of course, wanted to see Lin Nianchu wearing a beautiful Gyaru uniform, wanting to see her enjoy her youth just like other girls. Moreover, her natural traits were so outstanding. I had never seen her appearance with her hair down. It was just a pity that heaven gave her such a breathtaking beauty but stripped away her right to show it off. Of course, I could step in to help her, and I was also extremely willing to. I even had more than enough money to buy dozens of sets. At my current age, the savings from before I turned 18 were still sitting safely in my bank card, but I also understood perfectly clear, wanting to help a young girl in difficult circumstances who possessed high self-esteem. Giving her money or clothes for free was the absolute worst method. Zhou Zheng also agreed to choose the Gyaru uniform, requiring the students to hand over 65 NDT to the class monitor within a week. Hearing the price, Lin Nianchu looked up in surprise, but then quietly lowered her head and continued looking at her book. When it was time for afternoon PE class, I turned to look at Lin Nianchu. Then it settled. "This Saturday come to my house to tutor me." Lin Nianchu instantly grew tense. "Tutoring is fine, but I never said I would go to your house. Then I'll offer a few quiet places. You choose for yourself." Option 1. My bedroom. Option 2. The supermarket warehouse. Option 3. A private KTV room. Option 4. A double bedroom at a hotel. Seeing me staring at her with an ambiguous look in my eyes, at this moment she figured out that I was forcing her to choose the bedroom. Lin Nianchu's face flushed slightly red. "Going to your house is fine, but on one small condition. There must be people at your house." "Of course there will be." Lin Nianchu said nothing more. Once she finished packing up, she used both hands to hug her pink backpack, nodding at me with a half-believing, half-doubting look. She looked absolutely adorable. A smile spread across my face. I couldn't help but feel like I had just successfully seduced an innocent girl. Seduced my ass, I literally saved her life. This life of hers belongs to me now. I am completely treating her like my own flesh and blood, okay? Seeing that everyone else in the class had already left, Lin Nianchu and I quickly went down to the field to assemble. I intentionally waited to walk side by side with her, but I saw Lin Nianchu dragging her feet with her backpack, lagging behind, as if she were intentionally keeping a distance. I didn't care slinging my blue backpack over one shoulder and putting both hands in my pockets as I casually strolled down to the schoolyard. A guy standing 1.83 meters tall just walked in such a carefree manner. Only now did Lin Nianchu willingly quicken her pace. Looking from behind, the blue and pink backpacks looked like a couple's set, making the youth and the young girl look particularly eye-catching. But obviously only girls with sensitive minds would pay attention to this scene. After finishing the warm-up laps on the PE field, the entire Class 28 lined up in several rows, looking at the tall, lean, and dark PE teacher in front of them, Sun Ping. Rumor has it that this man can do 20 single-arm pull-ups. He is undeniably a real certified alpha male and also the dream guy of the English teacher. Wen Yuan. Starting from the next period, those who signed up for the sports meet will practice according to their respective events. For today's class, you're allowed free time. Class 28 cheered in unison, and in an instant they scattered like birds out of a cage. But to some people, the words free time were considered a nightmare. They could only wander around the schoolyard or sit blankly on the steps. Lin Nianchu was exactly that kind of person, but she didn't mind at all. While I and a few other boys rushed toward the basketball court, Lin Nianchu walked toward the steps to put down her backpack. She highly treasured this backpack, even placing a compulsory literature volume 3 textbook underneath it to prevent the bottom from getting dusty. Walking over to the steps, Lin Nianchu sat down, carefully hugging her backpack in her arms. She then brought the literature textbook up in front of her face. But after opening it, her gaze, which was supposed to be fixed on each word, automatically drifted over to the basketball court. She was always like this. Every time there was free time, the hours that were supposed to be used for studying would be wasted by her eyes on the basketball court. At this moment, wearing my uniform, I dribbled the ball past someone at lightning speed. My crossover left Zhao Zimo staggering and losing his balance, after which I took 3 steps up the lane and executed a fierce dunk. The rim shook violently. I landed with style, cracking my neck. Lin Nianchu's beautiful eyes on the steps flinched slightly. Meanwhile, outside the sidelines, Chen Xiyu and her 2 best friends who were watching also stood there with open mouths in shock. Zhao Zimo, with his middle-part hairstyle, looked as droopy as a sick rooster. He suddenly blurted out, "Chen Huayan, you know how to dunk." During school days, a guy who knows how to dunk is the one and only true god on the basketball court. I was also a bit surprised myself. From yesterday when I was reborn until now, I noticed my strength had increased quite a bit, and my vertical leap naturally increased along with it. Could this be considered an unexpected perk brought by rebirth? But it would have been better if you buffed my intelligence. Instead, wouldn't it? What the hell is the point of increasing this bit of strength? Is it gonna help me pass the college entrance exam, Chen? Why, and that move just now was so cool. Chen Xiyu spoke up, her cheeks flushing slightly red. I gave her a dull glance, and then shifted my gaze away, looking toward the distant steps. Suddenly, our eyes met. The moment our gazes crossed, Lin Nianchu immediately turned her head away, clutching the literature textbook tightly against her chest. Lin Nianchu started, moving her lips intentionally, pretending to memorize the lesson, but one of her ears had already turned bright red. This little girl really hasn't changed in 10,000 years, just sitting stubbornly right there. In my memory, every time PE class had free time, Lin Nianchu would sit in that exact spot holding a book. I'm playing basketball so handsomely like this. Yet a girl like you doesn't even bother to come over and watch. I retracted my gaze. Over there, Chen Xiyu and her 2 best friends were still looking at me with watery eyes, brimming like spring water. Chen Huayan, that dunk just now was truly so cool. Chen Xiyu spoke up again, her tone coquettish like someone who doesn't usually praise others. So a rare compliment from her now was indeed a rare thing. So I only indifferently gave a hum and then didn't bother to pay attention to her anymore. Hearing Chen Xiu's compliment, Zhao Zimo was extremely unwilling, glaring at me. Stroking his middle-part hair, he said, "On the basketball court, nobody can surpass me. Chen Huayan, do you dare to solo? One-on-one." Before waiting for my answer, class monitor. Doing that is giving him a chance to show off. The real way to deal a blow is the exact moment he dunks. We just pretend like nothing happened. I raised my hand and gave him the middle finger. "You're still as insidious as ever, kid." Zhao Zimo kicked the ball, intending to serve, but my gaze at this moment was directed behind him. Suddenly, my expression changed completely, throwing the ball straight aside. Zhao Zimo caught the ball excitedly, intending to take 3 steps for a layup, but I didn't even bother to stop him, instead running on all fours like crazy toward the steps. At the steps, a crowd of students was gathering. I squeezed my way into the crowd, discovering Lin Nianchu sitting flat on the ground, with a quite painful look holding her right ankle. The PE teacher Sun Ping hung the whistle back around his neck. "What's going on here?" A female student nearby hesitated, saying, "Just now I think I saw a female student from behind give Lin Nianchu a push. And then she rolled down from the steps." "What did that girl look like? Which class?" Before I could get a clear look, she already slipped away. "What the hell is this? Don't let me catch that brat." I didn't even bother to hide it, cursing loudly out loud, hurriedly stepping over to squat down next to Lin Nianchu. "Give me a hand. I'll take her to the infirmary." I went through so much trouble to save this girl. Yet there's actually someone who doesn't know whether they want to live or die, daring to make a move to harm her. Female student immediately stepped over to help Lin Nianchu up. She hopped on one foot, staring blankly at my broad back clad in the uniform, looking quite hesitant. Seeing her not reacting at all, I lost my patience, turned around and snapped. "What are you waiting for? Get on." Lin Nianchu bit her lip tightly, spreading her 2 arms out, her upper body gently leaning onto my back. The exact moment this happened, my furious face suddenly became unusually calm. Seeing me just squatting there blankly, without moving, Sun Ping frowned. "Can't carry her? If you can't carry her, let me." Hearing this sentence, Lin Nianchu wrapped both arms around my neck, the tips of both ears flushing bright red, her expression extremely embarrassed. I immediately changed my clear gaze, hurriedly explaining, "Aya, it's just that my leg fell asleep earlier, now it's all good." Standing up, I slid both hands down to support Lin Nianchu's thighs, piggybacking Lin Nianchu to the edge of the steps. I leaned down slightly so she could grab her backpack, then took 2 steps forward again, telling her to carry my backpack too. "Just hang my backpack around my neck, that's fine. It's very heavy, your neck will hurt." Lin Nianchu's voice sounded at an extremely close distance right next to my ear. Seeing her carrying a backpack in each hand, fearing her arms would get tired, I quickened my pace, walking fast toward the school infirmary. What I failed to see was that, on the young girl's face at this moment, a radiant smile had blossomed like the warm, morning sunshine of spring. "Who pushed you, did you see?" "No." "Then do you have any suspicious targets?" "No." "You're just afraid I'll go settle scores with that bunch and teach them a lesson, aren't you?" Arriving at the room, the infirmary, I piggybacked Lin Nianchu and searched around, but there was no sign of the doctor anywhere. Strange. Even after another round, I still couldn't find anyone, so I had to temporarily set Lin Nianchu down on the medical bed lined with a disposable white sheet. The young girl sat on the edge of the bed, the tips of her toes barely touching the ground. "Forget it. Let me do it myself." Dragged a small stool over and sat opposite Lin Nianchu. She suddenly pressed her legs tightly together and asked alertly, "What are you doing?" "Checking to see if you have a sprain, a dislocation, or a fracture." "What else?" Both of Lin Nianchu's ears flushed bright red, but she still asked in her usual cold tone, "Do you even know how to examine?" "Duh, obviously. Back in the countryside, I used to set bones for the village sows all the time." "Sows? Why did you suddenly—" She suddenly realized something, and turning her embarrassment into anger, she began pounding her fists against my shoulder. I burst out laughing, simultaneously reaching out to grab Lin Nianchu's right foot. I slipped her shoe off, and a clean, pure white sock caught my eye. Lin Nianchu bit her lip bashfully, her legs squeezing tightly together. But my next action made her so ashamed that she wished she could just kick me to death. "You've been wearing shoes all day, so let me ask, why don't your feet smell at all?" Are you insane?" Even though Lin Nianchu was originally such a proud and calm person, at this moment she couldn't help but curse at me. Pouting, I pulled her right foot, which she had just retracted, right back into my hands. Lin Nianchu struggled, so I gave a quick slap on her calf. "Just sit still and behave." Lin Nianchu could only swallow her grievance and submit, but her eyes were still glaring at me. I pulled her white sock down, revealing calf skin as fair as jade and a small rosy white heel. Then I used my hand to gently press on the fair ankle area that was slightly swollen. Lin Nianchu let out a soft groan. "Does it hurt?" The young girl nodded bashfully. "Be a bit gentler. No need to worry." My left and right hands firmly cupped her slender ankle, slowly twisting it gently to feel the condition of the joint. A moment later, I let out a sigh of relief and declared, "Small issue, it's just a sprain. The swelling isn't that bad. Just applying some safflower oil will do." Standing up, I rummaged through the drawer behind and found a half-empty bottle of safflower oil. I sat back down on the stool, placing Lin Nianchu's right foot onto my knee, preparing to apply the medicine. She pulled her foot back again. Let me do it myself. How bold of you. I looked up and shouted loudly. Lin Nianchu's right foot froze. Taking advantage of the momentum, I pulled her foot back casually, scolding her. This is a special situation, what is there to be embarrassed about? But after just a few seconds, Lin Nianchu asked in a cold tone, It's just a sprain on the ankle. Why did you take my entire sock off? Huh? And what is that in your right hand? I looked down, and only then realized my right hand was holding the white sock I had just taken off while my left hand was tightly holding a fair, beautiful bare foot hovering in midair. Before I could even admire it a few more times, Lin Nianchu turned her embarrassment into anger, snapping her foot back. With a resentful face, she snatched the sock back, not forgetting to give me a sharp glare. That look of disgust was as if she were judging a foot fetish pervert. Turning her back to apply the medicine herself, Lin Nianchu put her sock and shoe back on, picked up her backpack, and walked out of the infirmary. I ran after her to explain, Listen to me first. Sometimes my hands just don't follow the commands of my brain. Lin Nianchu didn't even bother to acknowledge me, just keeping her head down and walking ahead. By this time, school had let out. Lin Nianchu said she wanted to go back to the classroom to study. I let her walk toward the academic building, while I went to the bike shed to get my bicycle and head home. When I wheeled my bicycle to the school gate, I still couldn't help but think about Lin Nianchu's sprained ankle. I didn't know where this girl's house was, or if it was far. Was she really planning to limp all the way home? Letting out a sigh, I reluctantly turned back to the academic building. I decided to walk her home today. Arriving outside the window of Class 1228, I slowly slowed my pace and then stopped. There wasn't a single soul in the classroom. Lin Nianchu wasn't sitting down studying at all. She was limping on the podium, holding an eraser in her hand, struggling on her tiptoes trying to erase the writings on the blackboard. The third period of the afternoon was history class, and the history teacher was a middle-aged guy standing 1.9 meters tall. Especially loved writing characters all the way up high, which was why Lin Nianchu erasing the board was extremely difficult. She tried to raise the eraser high, stretching her right arm to the absolute limit, her uniform sleeve sliding down, revealing a slender arm as white as snow. But she still couldn't reach the topmost line, written in that sweeping, flamboyant calligraphy. My eyes quietly drifted to the duty corner on the board, where it clearly stated, Blackboard Duty, Chen Huayan. On the podium, Lin Nianchu dejectedly let her arm drop. She really couldn't reach it. She stood in place, panting, for a moment. Taking a deep breath, she hopped up on one foot, swinging her arm with all her might, stretching out her hand intending to erase the line at the very top. But just as the eraser was about to touch the words, a large hand suddenly appeared in Lin Nianchu's field of vision. That hand snatched the eraser right out of her hand. Lin Nianchu whipped around, and at the same time her heel landed on the floor. The pain from her injured ankle made her lose her balance, sending her falling to the side. I hurriedly grabbed her arm, pulling her back with a jerk. The eyes of the youth and the young girl met. Lin Nianchu, looking like a guilty thief caught red-handed, panicked and took a few steps back, speaking up anxiously. Didn't you already go home? I stared at her in no hurry to answer, only casually tossing and catching the eraser in my hand. Then raising my hand, I easily wiped away the highest line of characters. After cleaning the blackboard, I threw the eraser onto the podium. No wonder I never used to erase the board back then, yet the teachers never came to settle scores with me the next day. I asked her, Did you erase the board for me every single time? No, the young girl answered, her eyes panicked and timid like a thief with a guilty conscience. Startled, she looked up to give me a quick glance again. There's nothing else to do. I need to continue studying. After saying that, she turned around, intending to step down from the podium. I quickly grabbed her arm. Don't study anymore today. Your leg is injured. Let me take you home. No need for you to take me. Lin Nianchu immediately refused. I frowned. Then where is your house? Is it far? Not far. I gave her a half-believing, half-doubting glance. It was hard to say. Lin Nianchu just didn't want anyone else coming to her house. After all, this girl's self-esteem was very high, so I didn't force it either, only adopting a rogue tone. Fine, no need for me to take you home, but you can only study until 6:30? At exactly 6:30, you have to head back. I'll stay right here in class to keep an eye on you. Lin Nianchu turned back to look at me, her white teeth gently biting her red lips, her eyes full of gloom. Then I won't study anymore. I'm going home right now. I smiled and nodded. See, isn't that much better? Waiting until she finished packing her books into her backpack, I then walked toward the classroom door. Right then on the podium, there was another sound. I turned back to look. Lin Nianchu was extremely seriously cleaning up the pile of chalk dust on the podium. This girl actually dared to stubbornly argue that she wasn't doing the classroom duty for me. cleaning up an entire full-service combo like that. Once the podium was completely cleaned, only then did she put on her backpack and walk closer, keeping her head low with an awkward expression as she quickly walked past me. I let out a chuckle and then stroked after her. The words tsundere iceberg suddenly became extremely vivid and concrete. Wheeling my bicycle, I walked with the young girl to the school gate. As the two of us were about to go our separate ways, I patted the back seat of the bicycle anyway. How about I just ride you home? It's no trouble at all. Lin Nianchu fiddled with her sleeves, looking at me with an uneasy expression. No need. What if my dad sees an unfamiliar male student getting close to me? Lin Nianchu lowered her head and replied softly, My dad will grab a stick and come out to beat him up. Is your dad really that fierce? Across Lin Nianchu's face, a flash of fluster flickered. Grabbing the edge of her sleeve, she nodded gently, then turned around and walked away in the opposite direction. Hey, don't you know any manners? School is out, and you're going home without knowing how to say goodbye. Hearing that, Lin Nianchu rarely let a smile bloom across her refined face. Bye-bye. Bye. I stood in place, grinning, a smile overflowing with the proud paternal satisfaction of a father. Watching the young girl's figure, which was a bit tottering, but still walking steadily, I turned around confidently, pedaling my bicycle as I rushed toward home. I turned around and contentedly pedaled my bike towards home. Hearing the sound behind her, Lin Nianchu also hurriedly turned her head back to look at my back as I bicycled away. She stood there dazed for a very long time, until I completely disappeared into the sea of people. Only then did she turn back around, welcoming the pale orange sunset on the horizon. Reaching up her hand, she tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Her pure face was dyed a golden glow by the twilight, carrying a faint, gentle smile. Two backpacks, one blue and one pink, gradually separated from each other at the gate of Lucheng High School. On the opposite side of the street, the carts selling pancakes and fried rice cakes made crisp vendor cries. It seemed that at this exact moment, a picture had been painted named The Quiet Years, peaceful in this life. I want to strive in my studies. I want to rise up. I want to fight to go far. I want to pass the entrance exam into a top 985 or 211 university. I, Chen Huayan, want to become the top scorer of Lucheng. Upon arriving home, I placed one foot on a chair in the living room, my hand pointing straight at the ceiling toward my dad, Chen Tian, and my mother, Tu Tiunya, as I shouted those solemn vows. My mother clapped her hands with extreme enthusiasm and admiration, while Chen Tian, sitting at the table, just sneered, spitting a sunflower seed shell from his mouth onto the floor. Suddenly, I felt that, when he was young, my dad looked a bit like Stephen Chow, especially that mocking expression he gave me just now. Chen Tian turned to look at Tu Tiunya beside him and mocked, his tone full of sarcasm. These guys who sit at the dead bottom of the grade usually love to daydream, imagining fanciful things that can never be done. It seems the day I lead my troops to conquer the world and become the richest man alive is no longer far off. Titunya, annoyed, slapped Chen Tian's shoulder hard. How can anyone talk about their own son like that? Can't you encourage the boy? Even once? Chen Tian sneered again, nonchalantly cracking another seed. Sorry about that. For the last semester's final exam, he ranked second from the bottom. Okay, he made progress. The sunflower seeds in Chen Tian's hand fell tumbled to the ground. He looked over in astonishment. Real or fake? My son, well, you can't blame him for having this expression, because I had successfully defended my title as the dead last of the entire grade for 2 consecutive years. Of course it's real. Someone skipped the exam, so I naturally climbed up to the top 2, counting from the bottom. The smile on Chen Tian's face froze. He casually threw the handful of seeds back into the plate. Listening to this brat talk really wastes several seconds of my life back in my day. On a 100-point test, I actually managed to score 37 points. But what about you? On a 150-point test, you only got 20-something points. The later generation really can't compare to the previous one. I was speechless. Turns out I found the root cause of why I was bad at studying: genetics. Chen Tian waved his hand. Forget it. It's like playing the lute to a cow. I'm heading out to the supermarket. Titunya asked in confusion, Isn't Aunt Liu already there? Her grandchild was just born, so she asked for leave to go back to the countryside. Right now the supermarket is short-handed. Hearing that, an idea suddenly popped into my mind, and I hurriedly spoke up. Dad, I have a suitable person to replace Aunt Liu. Who? My classmate. A student. What the hell can they accomplish? I hurriedly pulled my old man over, pleading. She can come help at the supermarket after school in the evening. Just pay her a bit less salary, won't that do? Chen Tian pondered in deep thought. That actually makes sense. Delaying that kid's studies means you'll have one less rival for the college entrance exam. Even though I secretly complained about my dad's wild logic, I still put on a bright smile and raised a thumb. Dad is still the superior one, possessing a broad vision. Chen Tian proudly lifted his head high. That's a given, Tu Tianya silently shook her head. This father and son are both beyond saving. Chen Tian laughed and patted my shoulder. All right, bring your friend tomorrow for an interview with me. After my dad left, I looked around the living room. Where's Chen Yitong? My mom. Tatiunya glanced at her daughter's room door. Before you came back, she was just given a severe scolding by your dad and me. Why is that? Tatiunya lowered her voice. Lately, your younger sister has been interacting with a foolish guy in front of the gate of middle school number 65. They were too close, so the teacher reported it. Your dad and I are afraid your sister will get bullied. Right at this moment, the door to Chen Yitong's room suddenly swung open. The lowly girl poked her head out and countered loudly. The uncle wearing overalls is not a bad person. The little girl stood at the door, wearing a super cute pink little bear pajama set. Her lips pouted and her cheeks puffed up with anger, before she immediately slammed the door shut again. My mom explained it all one more time. Only now did I finally get it. Turns out my younger sister's middle school was also right by the gate of Lucheng Middle School number 65. There was always a foolish, clumsy middle-aged man loitering around there, whom the students called the idiot. But hearing Chen Yitong call him the uncle in overalls, I suddenly recalled a piece of memory from when I was in middle school at school number 65. That fool, since back when I was in middle school, had already been frequently hanging around the school gate. Though this uncle was foolish and clumsy, his appearance was actually quite handsome, dressed cleanly, and he especially loved to wear a pair of blue overalls, which was a bit of a contrast to his condition. However, back when I was in middle school, the kids used to bully this uncle a lot. Some threw rocks, some intentionally blindsided him from behind, then ran away laughing hysterically. Or they would crowd around to mock and tease him. Every time that happened, the uncle in overalls would always look flustered, not knowing what to do, finding it an eyesore. I also frequently stepped up to scold and chase those kids away. I recall there was a female student from the same school who found it even more of an eyesore than I did. Once she even carried a huge broom and rushed in to beat up the boys who loved to bully others, giving them a severe thrashing to chase them away. At that moment, I thought that girl was incredibly badass, just like a heroine protecting world peace. However, I didn't know her name, only remembering that she was skinny with very long and messy hair, completely covering her face. Probably because this girl often took care of and protected the uncle in overalls. Every time he saw her, the uncle would smile very brightly, looking at her like his own flesh and blood daughter. He would even happily dance around, waving his hands and feet. Staring intently at my sister's room door, I suddenly fell into silence. Back in middle school, there was already a girl who firmly protected that uncle in overalls. Calculating by the timeline, that girl should be around my age and has now entered high school. That's why he lost his protector, and my sister can be considered to have followed in her footsteps, inheriting that girl's righteous spirit. Thinking up to here, I turned to look at my mom. Mom, I think you should look into the whole story before deciding whether to scold my sister or not. Tiunya burst out laughing, while I stood up and walked toward my sister's room. The room of this 14-year-old lowly girl was full of girly vibes, a pink bed, pink desk and chairs, and pink plushies. Stepping inside felt as if I had dropped into an ocean of pastel pink. Well, makes sense. She's my parents' biological child while I was probably picked up from a trash can. But in my memory, it seems Lin Nianchu also really likes pink if I'm not mistaken. What did you come in here for? Chen Yitong sat on this bed, hugging a large teddy bear, pouting her lips, with an extremely displeased expression. I leaned my back against the doorframe, smiling as I said, let me tell you a secret. Back when I was in middle school, I was also very close to that uncle, in overalls. It's because he's actually very cute and gentle, never bullying anyone. But there were a lot of middle schoolers who bullied him, so I also protected him a few times. Chen Yitong looked at me with an astonished gaze. Her older brother, who had a reputation as a problem student since middle school, actually had times when he was this kind-hearted. The little girl nodded her head. He's very good, brother. This noon I even saw a super pretty older sister, who was very kind, sitting on the steps across the street, feeding him rice. Hearing that I didn't comment, only instructing my younger sister, I highly approve of you protecting him. But if you encounter any situation you can't handle yourself, then you must definitely tell me. I'll be there instantly. Got it. Chen Yitong smiled brightly and nodded, swinging her fair little feet. At this moment, she suddenly felt that her older brother was no longer as annoying as before. After leaving my sister's room, I returned to my own room. I dragged a dust-covered cardboard box out from under the bed, which contained all the textbooks from 10th to 11th grade. Fortunately, I hadn't sold them for scrap to the junk collector yet, though that was a stunt I totally would have pulled in the past. After cleaning off the textbooks, I piled them all onto the desk. I had completely lost my foundation for the 10th and 11th grade curricula because I had never paid attention in class. I vaguely recalled the comment most teachers made about me. This kid is actually very smart. He just doesn't put his mind into studying. This time, I'm going to put all my mind into studying to see if you people praising me for being smart was genuinely coming from the heart or not. But reading books really makes one sleepy so easily. Half an hour later, wearing short shorts that revealed her fair calves, Chen Yi-tong, carrying a plate of fruit, pushed open her older brother's room door and walked in. "Brother?" Her sweet voice instantly turned into a terrified scream, "Ah, ah!" In my room, I was sitting at the desk. In front of me was an open textbook, and a rope dropped down from the ceiling, tightly wrapping around my neck. My eyes were rolling back as I gagged, while letting out sounds like ugh, ugh, as if resisting fate itself. Tying his neck to study what a move Lucheng No. 7 High School could be considered a top 2 key school in the city. The best high school was Lucheng No. 1 High School, which adopted a liberal teaching method. Their admission rate for first-tier universities was sky-high, reaching up to 90%. Meanwhile, No. 7 High School adopted an extremely strict set of rules and a cramming teaching style. Their admission rate for first-tier universities maintained at around 50%. The next day, I bicycled to the school gate. Normally, I always waited until morning self-study ended before showing my face, but right now it was only 7 a.m. Wheeling my bicycle, my mouth mumbled as I memorized the lesson, carrying 2 dark under-eye circles and 2 red marks, left by the rope tightening around my neck as I arrived at the school gate. At this moment, I suddenly saw Shen Shiyu stopped by the teacher on gate duty. Not wearing your uniform top in the morning is one thing, but wearing it this short. "Which class are you from?" Shen Shiyu kept her head low like a criminal. Today, she wore a white t-shirt paired with a pleated skirt, in blue revealing a pair of fair thighs that were extremely eye-catching. I turned a blind eye, wheeling my bike straight into the school gate. Shen Shiyu suddenly looked up and saw my back, unbelievingly rubbing her eyes. Did the sun rise from the west today? Chen Huayan came to school this early. The bell for the first period biology class rang. Fang Yifeng slumped his handsome face onto the desk, snoring, away while I stuffed a few steamed buns I had just bought into Lin Nianchu's desk drawer. "Don't say a word after class. Remember to eat them." Lin Nianchu at this moment kept staring at my neck, her face hesitant, wanting to speak but stopping herself. "Don't worry, last night I studied too late, so I intentionally tied a rope around my neck to stay awake." Hearing me say that, Lin Nianchu looked at me with an unbelieving gaze. I wasn't even worried. I curled my lips into a smile. Then, closing my eyes, I slumped onto the desk. Right now, listening to the lecture was useless anyway. Since the foundational knowledge hadn't been mastered yet, listening would be like playing the lute to a cow. Slumping onto the desk was firstly to rest up and secondly to review the knowledge I had ground through last night. Lin Nianchu touched the warm bag of buns, gently pursing her lips. Taking advantage of when I was asleep, she secretly stuffed 2 of the buns into the plastic lunchbox she brought with her. In fact, I noticed it but didn't expose her. More than 10 minutes later, I lifted my head up. Lin Nianchu, looking as if she had rehearsed it countless times, hurriedly turned around, confessing with an extremely serious face, "Just now I secretly ate 2 of the buns. If you ate them, you ate them. It's no big deal. Why are you reporting it to me?" Lin Nianchu lowered her head with a flustered expression, then quickly turned back around, her 2 ears bright red. It was obvious she had absolutely no talent for lying, but this was the first time I felt someone lying could actually be this adorable. At this moment on the podium, the biology teacher spoke up. "The heart rate of a normal person fluctuates from 60 to 90 beats per minute. Do you boys and girls know the working principle of a lie detector? The pulse is precisely one of the bases for a lie detector's judgment. Now you can work with your desk mate to try and measure each other's heart rate, testing for lies via heart rate to see how it goes." I turned around, but Lin Nianchu was extremely flustered, hiding her 2 small hands behind her back, looking at me with full alertness. "What are you planning to do?" "I'm going to read your pulse." Lin Nianchu, rarely taking the initiative, said, "Let me read yours instead." "Up to you." I rolled up my sleeves and placed my arm on the desk. Lin Nianchu reached out her small, slender hand, placing her fair fingertips right on my pulse point. Right at this moment, from the back row, a female student suddenly shouted out in surprise, "Teacher Fang Yifeng has a pregnancy pulse." The whole class, simultaneously, turned around to look. The person who just spoke was Fang Yifeng's desk mate, Chen Fei. In my memory, this girl was a hardcore fan of yaoi and BL novels. Right now, she was checking the pulse on Fang Yifeng's wrist, while that guy was still snoring away and drooling, completely unaware that he was apparently pregnant. Makai Ming, watching the drama and loving the chaos, chimed in. "Whose baby is it? Is it Princess? Feifei's yours." Chen Fei furrowed her brows. Screw off. The biology teacher's lips twitched. Stop messing around. I asked you guys to test, lying not to check for a pregnancy pulse. The whole class burst into a roar of laughter. The biology teacher smiled and said, Come on, hurry up and ask your deskmate a question, to see if their heart rate speeds up when they answer. I indifferently urged, Ask away. Do you like eating vegetables? Why ask such a basic question? You idiot, can't you ask something a bit more sensational? Is there nothing you want to know? About me, just ask whatever you want. Of course there was, but how would Lin Nianchu ever dare to ask? She gently shook her head. I immediately flipped my palm over, pressing her soft hand down underneath mine, and bossily rolled up her sleeve, revealing a slender, fair wrist. Just as my fingertips were about to touch the green veins that were clearly visible on it, Lin Nianchu immediately got nervous and snapped her hand back. I stared at her. Are you nervous about hiding the buns? Or is it because of something else, huh? Why won't you let me check your pulse? No means no. Fine, then I'll just have to listen to your heartbeat. After saying that, I slowly leaned my ear closer to her chest. The young girl nervously backed away until her back hit the wall and she couldn't back up anymore. Seeing this, I curled my lips into a mischievous smile and continued to press closer, but I'm someone who knows his boundaries and didn't actually lean entirely onto her. I'm going to start asking now, okay? The young girl kept silent. I smiled with a sly expression, throwing out the question, Do you have a secret crush on anyone? The moment she heard this question instantly, Lin Nianchu's ears flushed bright red and her eyes widened completely, turning her face to the side in total awkwardness. She immediately replied, Boring. Of course not. I chuckled, constantly perking up my ears to listen, but then I furrowed my brows. I couldn't tell if it was because the classroom was too noisy or the distance was too far, but I couldn't hear any heartbeat at all. The biology teacher clapped her hands. All right, did everyone successfully verify it? I reluctantly sat up straight. I didn't manage to hear it in time. Looking at Lin Nianchu's embarrassed look, there was a high probability that she did, but it wasn't certain. During school days, just this question alone was enough to make any student going through puberty feel embarrassed. Morning classes ended, and in a flash it was already lunchtime. Shenxiu, wearing her short pleated skirt, swayed her slender waist as she walked over to the back row. Chen Huayan, can you have lunch with me today? No can do. This time I have to study properly. I spread my 10th grade textbooks across the desk. Shenxiu stomped her foot in anger. What are you putting on an act for, with your grades? What's the point of studying anyway? You're intentionally throwing a tantrum at me, right, Lin Nianchu? Hearing this shot Shenxiu an icy glance, then lowered her head to continue studying. I slammed the desk, pointing toward the classroom door. If you know what's good for you, get lost on your own. Don't make me kick you out. Shenxiu felt so aggrieved she wanted to cry. Her best friend hurriedly dragged her away. Once everyone else in the classroom had left, leaving only me and Lin Nianchu turned around and discovered that I was actually studying hard, even using multicolored pens to make dense notes, all over the textbook that used to be full of doodles. She couldn't help but purse her lips and smile, but the very next second when I turned to look, she snapped her head back awkwardly, flipping through her book. Time ticked away minute by minute, and it was now Lin Nianchu's regular lunchtime. She stood up, and I also stood up to stretch my arms. Studying is tiring, but it's really absorbing well. By this time, the cafeteria probably has nothing left. Lin Nianchu didn't bother to pay any attention to me picking up her backpack and quietly leaving the class. I also casually followed her to the food counter in the cafeteria, staring with absolute shock at the short-haired lady scooping the food. Lin Nianchu's portion of white rice cost 50 cents, while my portion of white rice cost a whopping $2.5. I licked my lips and said crossly, Auntie? The short-haired lady coldly looked at me. What is it? Nothing. You look very beautiful today, Auntie. I walked over to Lin Nianchu's dining table, sitting down directly opposite her. The young girl looked up to give me a glance, then lowered her head again to eat her rice unhurriedly. I pulled a bunch of snacks out from my backpack, which I brought from my family's supermarket, and laid them out on the table. I knew that studying late meant the food would be gone, so I brought along snacks. I unwrapped a braised chicken leg, a braised egg, and sausages, dropping them all into my food tray. Just as I was about to eat, I paused my hand again. What's wrong with me today? I don't feel like eating anything at all, probably because I eat these snacks every day, so I'm sick of them. How about this? I pulled her rice tray toward myself, pushing the tray piled high with snacks over to her. Let's forget it. Today the two of us will swap our meals with each other. Lin Nianchu, stunned, looked up at me. I hurriedly reached out my hand to point at her. Eat. Lin Nianchu stared at me in a daze. pursing her lips, not daring to utter a single word. I buried my head and began devouring. The young girl quietly watched me eat from the exact spot she had just eaten from, her long eyelashes gently blinking. So delicious. Why is your rice tastier than mine? I made an ecstatic look with an extremely despicable and punchable expression, but Lin Nianchu didn't have any intention to beat me up at all. She quietly picked up her chopsticks, letting out a soft murmur. Thank you. I pretended not to hear it. After a while, I had completely wiped clean the white rice in my tray, then spoke up. Oh, right. My family's supermarket is short of a cashier for the evening shifts. Now officially announcing that you've been hired. Lin Nianchu again raised her head in surprise. I bossily pointed at her. The salary is only half of a regular employee's. If you dare to utter a single word of complaint or refusal, you know exactly what I'm implying. Lin Nianchu, do you have anything to say? Lin Nianchu quietly looked at me, then very seriously sat up straight, nodding her head, just like she was looking at her boss. I have no complaints, and I agree to do it. Then good. Lin Nianchu very happily continued to lower her head to eat her rice. She only ate a single braised egg, and devoured half of the white rice portion. Right at this moment, she took out her lunchbox and placed it on her lap, taking the remaining half portion of rice in the tray, along with the chicken leg braised egg, and sausages, dumping them all into the box. I looked on completely stunned. What are you doing, huh? Bringing this to my dad. Bringing it back for your dad to eat? I felt like my ears had just heard the most absurd thing in the world. Don't tell me you mean you're going to leave the school gate right now to bring this food for him to eat. Lin Nianchu gave a slight nod. Seeing that my expression seemed disapproving, she then set her chopsticks down to the side, quietly stopping the action of moving the food into her lunchbox. She sat there, timidly, her expression a bit awkward, as if waiting for me to take the food away, or issue some other command, because she understood clearly that I gave her the food out of good intentions for her to eat, not for her dad. In fact, from early on, I already had a prejudice against Lin Nianchu's dad. What kind of father is that, forcing his daughter to go steal bread from the supermarket is one thing, but now he even demands his daughter bring food home from school for him. An unknown fire flared up inside my heart. If not for wanting to save face for Lin Nianchu, I would have already visited their house to settle scores with this dad. Such a beautiful daughter, so good at studying. If this were my daughter, I would have spoiled her to high heaven. I took a deep breath, truly, feeling so aggrieved that I just wanted to slam my hand hard onto the table and swear loudly, making the two trays jump up. Lin Nianchu was also startled. She raised her head, glancing at me in fear. 2 teardrops just like that fell without any warning. She uttered in a soft murmur, "I'm sorry." After apologizing, Nianchu quickly used her sleeve to wipe away the tears, then dragged the snacks out from the lunchbox, putting them back into the tray and pushed the tray back toward me. I looked on completely dazed. What are you doing again, huh? Lin Nianchu kept her head low. I'm full. Thank you for giving me this food. Thank you so much. To prevent me from misunderstanding that she was throwing a tantrum, Lin Nianchu raised her small face and forced a smile at me, a smile that looked even more painful than crying. I was almost driven to laughter by this girl's stubbornness. Pushing the food tray back, I said, "No, it's not like I said you couldn't bring it back for your dad. It's just that at the very least, you should finish eating that chicken leg. First, bring the rest to him." I'm really full. I honestly can't eat anymore. I suddenly felt like pinching my own pressure points out of sheer frustration. My brain was about to lack oxygen at any moment. Oh, well, I'm completely helpless against this girl. For her to be this filial, it's actually a good thing. If anyone's to blame, it's her heartless and irresponsible dad. I adjusted my emotions. All right. Bring it to him, I agree. Put it in the box. Lin Nianchu quietly raised her head to confirm my attitude. I forced the corners of my mouth up, squeezing out a very friendly smile, to prove that I didn't mind. Only then did the young girl feel reassured enough to put the pile of snacks back into the lunchbox, packing it all neatly into her backpack. After standing up, she gently bowed to me. Thank you. You're a good person. Don't give me a good person card, I thought to myself with a expressionless face. But Lin Nianchu didn't say anything else. Watching her back as she left the cafeteria, I let out a long sigh, leaving the gate of Lucheng. Number 7. High school. Lin Nianchu turned left, quickening her pace. Yesterday she really didn't lie to me. Her house was very close to the school, located near Lucheng Middle School number 65. However, carrying her backpack, Lin Nianchu didn't head home at all, but instead walked toward the gate of Lucheng Middle School number 65. In the past, she had also attended middle school here. Crossing the street, Lin Nianchu from afar spotted a middle-aged man wearing blue overalls, sitting right beside the green belt opposite the school. He sat very properly, his back straight as a rod, looking exactly like an elementary school student listening intently to a lecture. His eyes stared fixedly at the school gate, as if afraid of missing someone's school dismissal time. Seeing this scene, across Lin Nianchu's usually icy face, a smile bloomed. She hurriedly adjusted her backpack and ran over quickly. Taking advantage of when the middle-aged man wasn't paying attention, she gently tiptoed, just like her age had reversed in time, turning her back into a mischievous little girl from her childhood. Step by step, she quietly approached him, then quickly gave his shoulder a gentle pat. The middle-aged man, taken by surprise, whipped his head around. His handsome face looked left and right, searching, and seeing no one, he turned his face back. At this moment, a pure and radiant smile blossomed before his eyes like a fresh flower. Lin Nianchu smiled and called out, "Nianian!" The middle-aged man looked at his daughter, also happily calling out her name. But immediately after that, he acted just like a child who had done something wrong, hurriedly jumping up and repeatedly bowing. I'm sorry I didn't see Nianian when school let out. I didn't see Nianian when school let out." He kept mumbling, his speaking tone very childish, exactly like a 5- or 6-year-old kid. His 10 fingers twisted anxiously together, his face looking very aggrieved. Lin Nianchu hurriedly helped her dad sit down, comforting him. "It's because Nianian ran too fast. So you didn't see me, Dad." "Nianian run so fast Dad couldn't catch up." The handsome middle-aged man mimicked and repeated his daughter's words like a child learning to speak. Lin Nianchu looked at her dad with eyes full of gentleness, then took out from her backpack the lunchbox and a pair of clean chopsticks. "Time to eat. Time to eat." The man propped both hands on the steps, happily swinging his legs just like a child. Lin Nianchu wasn't in a hurry to feed him yet. She took out a tissue and a water bottle, pouring water to dampen the tissue, then wiped away the spots of dirt on the middle-aged man's face, scolding gently, "Why did you get your face all dirty like this, Dad?" "Nianian, I'm sorry," the man replied in an aggrieved tone. "It's okay. Nianian isn't mad at Dad." She opened the lunchbox, wrapped a tissue around the chicken leg bone, and handed it to her dad. "Chicken leg!" the man cried out in joy. But he didn't reach out his hand to take it, looking anxiously at Lin Nianchu and urging, "Nianian, you eat! Nianian, hurry up and eat, the bad guys are about to catch up." I already ate 2 whole buns. Hurry up and eat, Dad. The bad guys are about to catch up." Lin Nianchu played along with his words, then used her chopsticks to pick up the food and brought it right to his mouth. The man opened his mouth wide with a nom sound and chewed the rice, then took a huge bite of the chicken leg, devouring it heartily and deliciously, happily swinging his legs. "Is it good? So good has Nianian eaten yet?" Just after saying it, he immediately forgot again. Lin Nianchu very patiently repeated herself, her voice soft like she was singing a nursery rhyme. "The chicken leg is so delicious." Right at this moment, from the gate of Lucheng Middle School number 65, a little girl with short, cute hair suddenly skipped her way out. In her hand, she held a pineapple bun she had just bought, preparing to cross the street. But then she discovered that the pretty older sister from noon was sitting there again, feeding the uncle in overalls. Chen Yi Tong stood watching for a moment, then smiled brightly, holding her pineapple bun as she skipped back inside the school. Brother lost again today. That older sister was 1 step faster and fed the uncle in overalls first. Slightly past 1 p.m. Lin Nianchu, carrying her backpack, returned to the classroom. Finding that I was already sitting in my seat reading and studying, how truly rare, she proactively smiled and greeted, "Good afternoon." I was stunned, turning my head back to look at her with a gaze as if I had just seen a ghost. Lin Nianchu, being stared at, felt a bit embarrassed. What is it? Did the sun rise from the west? This cold and impolite young girl actually proactively opened her mouth to greet me first. Lin Nianchu didn't say anything, her face slightly embarrassed as she put away her bag and took her books out. I casually asked, "Was your father happy, Lin Nianchu?" Her tone cheerful and happy replied, "Yes." I turned to look at her, a faint smile visible on the corners of her lips. "So this is the reason you're so happy this afternoon, huh?" Lin Nianchu blanked out, looking at me, dazedly nodding her head. I smirked, truly, not knowing what to say anymore. But for this girl to be this filial, how could I possibly blame her? I instructed, "Today after evening, self-study ends, remember to go to the supermarket with me. My dad is waiting at the supermarket, saying he wants to interview you." Lin Nianchu turned around, her face showing a startled look. I smirked. "Don't be nervous. Though my dad is a bit slow-witted, he's actually quite approachable. He won't intentionally make things hard for you." Only now did Lin Nianchu let out a sigh of relief. Going for an interview for the first time, she really didn't know how to handle it. Why do you talk about your dad like that? Lin Nianchu softly asked. Huh, slow-witted. I put on a weird expression. I'm not just talking about him. I even plan to curse your dad, too. Your dad must have a short circuit in his brain. No joke, right after the words left my mouth, a powerful small fist suddenly landed a heavy blow right on my chest. Compared to those feather-light punches that didn't feel like anything before, this punch made me wince in pain. I looked at Lin Nianchu in surprise, discovering that the young girl's eyes were red as she glared at me, tears on the verge of spilling from the corners of her eyes. But very quickly after that, Lin Nianchu, carrying a complex mood, turned her gaze elsewhere. She knew I didn't understand the specific situation, which was why I said that. I'm sorry. Lin Nianchu apologized. The atmosphere became a bit quiet. I rubbed my chest and took a deep breath. All right, I also apologize. I'm sorry. Knowing you're filial, I shouldn't have talked about your dad like that. Lin Nianchu turned her head away, not wanting me to see the tears falling down her face. At this exact moment, she suddenly felt a lump in her throat, feeling extremely aggrieved. It felt as if following these words of mine, all the grievances built up over the past years suddenly poured out completely from the bottom of her heart. The ghost of the past had weighed heavily, making it hard for her to breathe. But Lin Nianchu had never given up. She used to think she was very strong. But when the youth beside her spoke those words of comfort, only then did she realize that she finally realized that turns out, all this time I was only trying to act strong. And right at this moment, that protective shell of acting strong seemed to shatter in an instant. Underneath her messy hair, the young girl's tears were like a broken dam. I couldn't help but speak up. I really don't know what your family situation is like. If your dad has some sort of special condition. Lin Nianchu immediately interrupted me. My dad is very normal. Okay, very normal. I nodded sensibly, shutting my mouth. It was obvious that she didn't want to talk about this, but since Lin Nianchu defended her dad this much, maybe her dad wasn't some scumbag, but just had some other reason. During the 4 periods of class this afternoon, Lin Nianchu was very quiet. I wanted to strike up a conversation with her, but seeing her face constantly icy, I let it drop. However, during evening self-study, something happened that caught the whole school off guard. The teacher supervising Class 28's evening self-study today was none other than the English teacher Wen Yuanyuan. Ma Kaiming wasn't doing his homework, but was instead admiring Wen Yuanyuan's beauty on the podium with a sly grin. While he was staring fixedly, everything suddenly went black before his eyes. The entire classroom fell into pitch-black darkness. The students in class screamed in surprise, turning their heads to look out the window, only to realize that the whole school was completely dark. Gao Qiang truly lived up to his reputation as the ultimate hype man, instantly howling, "Oh my God, it's a blackout!" The power is out throughout the school. The students of Class 28 simultaneously let out loud roars, as all kinds of trolls and chaotic souls started showing up. Wen Yuanyuan, after all, was still young, and lacked the experience to handle the situation before her eyes, only able to constantly slam her hand on the podium, demanding order. "Everyone back to your seats for me." Right at this moment, a high-pitched shriek rang out. "Ah, who touched my thigh? You pervert!" Wen Yuanyuan's face turned pale, because that scream just now came from a male student. It was clearly a deliberate attempt to join the chaos. Giving up, she slumped down onto the chair, no longer able to control this classroom that was running wild. The young boys and girls, each nursing their own thoughts, cheered happily, hoping that some romantic plotline would happen to them. For example, someone suddenly grabbing their hand, or someone suddenly kissing their cheek. If this were a high school romance drama, the female lead would definitely have the trait of being afraid of the dark, allowing the male lead to easily flex his protective instincts. But as a result, from the corner window of the back row, a loud thud resounded. I had collapsed onto the floor. I could never have imagined that this damn trait of being afraid of the dark would actually appear on me. Did I accidentally grab the female lead's script or something? When I was 6 years old back in my hometown, I was fumbling through the dark to use the restroom, and fell straight into a pitch-black dry well. Trapped at the bottom of that dark, endless dry well, I curled up for an entire night. Meanwhile, my slow-witted dad thought his son was sleeping soundly in his room, and he himself was sleeping soundly, full of sweet dreams. That's why all these years I've always had to keep the lights on when I sleep. Right now, collapsed on the floor, I felt a tightness in my chest, my heart gripped by panic, feeling as if the surroundings were full of tentacles, reaching out toward me. Suddenly, a melodious voice rang like a thunderclap next to my ear. The cold young girl, who hadn't bothered to talk to me all afternoon, was right now anxiously calling my name in a panic. This school-wide blackout, happening right during evening self-study, was truly way too thrilling. Even if a few years or even 10 years pass, the things that happened in the dark will definitely be the most profound marks in everyone's diary of youth. Out in the hallway, the grade Dean Gay Hao was waving his flashlight wildly. All over the place, his loud shouts occasionally ringing out. What are you doing? Who's hiding there? Get back to your classroom right now, don't run. A boy and a girl, what are you two hiding in the corner for, huh? Which class are you from? When Yuan, hearing the shouting out in the hallway, let out a long sigh, sitting on the podium completely giving up. But right at that moment she was startled. A dark shadow flashed past right in front of her. But right at that moment she jumped in fright. A dark shadow flashed right before her eyes. And then someone suddenly touched my calf. The English teacher Wen Yuan hurriedly jumped up, running in panic with quick short steps toward the staff office. Her high heels clicked against the floor in a rapid succession. I truly can't manage the order of this class anymore. Whoever wants to manage it, go ahead. That guy collapsed on the floor, slowly reaching his hands up and gasping for air as if he were about to suffocate. At this moment, the air was filled with a pungent smell of smelly feet. Some bro must have taken off his shoes in the middle of the chaos. The darkness, the intense pressure, and the foul stench combined into all kinds of negative feelings enveloping me. This nyctophobia is a psychological trauma that even when I was over 30 years old, I still couldn't cure. Right at this moment, next to my ear, the anxious voice of the cold girl rang out. My mind suddenly snapped back to reality. In a split second, a fresh, pleasant scent drifted over from beside me. In the darkness, I could vaguely see Lin Nianchu sitting down right next to me. She anxiously asked, "Are you afraid of the dark?" I didn't expect this girl to be so experienced. With just one glance, she immediately saw through my current condition. The moment I regained my composure, Lin Nianchu immediately helped me up. After standing up, a small, soft, and warm hand slid right into my palm. Then she firmly gripped my hand with a highly practiced motion. "Follow me." Her voice was incredibly gentle, even carrying a tone like she was coaxing a child. She held my hand and walked in front of me while I obediently tagged along behind her. For some reason, even though we hadn't escaped the pitch-black night yet, being held and led by a warm hand made me feel like I wasn't as terrified as I was just a moment ago. Lin Nianchu led my hand away from the hallway, down the stairs heading straight out to the campus courtyard. In that vast, wide, open space, the moon hung in the night sky bright, clear, and absolutely beautiful, casting a layer of shimmering silver light over the entire grass field of the school courtyard. Although the surroundings were still very dark, looking at the bright moon high above made me feel significantly better. My entire body was exhausted as I collapsed onto the grass field, drenched in cold sweat. Lin Nianchu glanced at me, and as if wanting to keep watching over the youth, she quietly sat down right next to me, her hands gently hugging her small legs. People who suffer from nyctophobia can't stay in tight, dark spaces with a lack of air. If they can see light or a view, they'll feel much better. After saying that, she smiled and pointed up at the moon under the moonlight. The young girl's youthful, smiling face was breathtakingly beautiful, just like a pure white angel. In fact, she didn't really feel like smiling, but right now I needed to be comforted. As if to soothe my mood, Lin Nianchu proactively struck up a conversation. "But Chen Huayan, did you know? The moon itself doesn't emit light. It reflects light from the sun. Where did you get this topic from? It's way too dry and boring." Lin Nianchu pursed her lips and quietly turned her face away. The atmosphere fell back into silence. After all, the two of us had just been in a cold war this afternoon. "Why are you so familiar with the symptoms of this condition?" "My dad also suffers from nyctophobia. When he sleeps, we always have to keep a small nightlight on for him," she softly said, but her tone dropped a bit. Perhaps it was because of this topic about her dad that a few hours ago the two of us were still throwing a tantrum at each other. So that's how it is. I rested my head on both hands, recalling the tone that sounded exactly like coaxing a child from Lin Nianchu earlier. Was it because she regularly comforted her dad so it became a habit? Probably because he suffered from the same condition. As her dad suddenly, my bad, impression of that man diminished by a lot. After all, he was someone who had tasted the exact same pain. "Hey, comrade school beauty, are you still mad at me?" Lin Nianchu sat there hugging her legs. She looked so small, curled up like a little meatball. She kept silent and didn't answer. "Say something." She turned her head quietly, glanced at me, and then shut her mouth tight again. "All right, looks like you're still mad." Right at this moment, a plan popped into my head. Not long after, Lin Nianchu heard a low, muffled groan coming from beside her. Turning around to look, she was surprised to see me curling my body up like a boiled shrimp, my entire body trembling uncontrollably. "Chen Huayan!" He let out a low, muffled groan and turned around to look, only to be shocked to see me curled up, like a boiled shrimp. My entire body was shaking uncontrollably. "Chen Huayan, what's wrong with you?" Lin Nianchu was scared out of her wits, immediately turning her body over to grab my shoulders, trying to help my body sit up straight. After sitting up, I was drenched in cold sweat, but in reality that was the sweat, drenched from earlier. My lips trembled, while simultaneously lifting my shaking arm up, tightly clutching Lin Nianchu's sleeve. "I'm so scared." "Scared?" Lin Nianchu, full of anxiety, repeated this word flustered for a moment. In the end, she hurriedly raised her head to find the position of the moon. Having no choice, she had to immediately support me to sit up. With the youth's sturdy build, she seemingly had to use all of her strength. Then she shifted her body backward so that my upper body leaned into her lap, and extended her two small hands to quickly hold my head straight. "Huayan, look at the moon." At this moment, how could I have the mind to watch the moon or the stars? With the soft and fragrant presence behind me, like this, even if the moon had a goddess, I wouldn't have the interest to look. I pretended to tremble all over, then intentionally rubbed my body backward a bit. Behind us, the night breeze gently blew, blending in the air, a faint, pure fragrance. My entire body just drifted on cloud 9. "Is it any better? It's still scared?" "Still very scared." Lin Nianchu, full of anxiety, looked sideways from her position, planning to stand up to go borrow a flashlight. But I suddenly grabbed at her arm. "Lin Nianchu, I'm here." The young girl hastily turned her head back. I looked at her, anxious, face looking extremely aggrieved, as I asked, "Are you still mad at me?" "No, I'm not mad at you. I was only mad for exactly 1 second." "Is that so?" Under Lin Nianchu's stunned gaze, I reached up to rub my nose and calmly sat up. "Rest assured, I'm fine." Seeing the young girl still staring blankly at me without any reaction, as if to prove I was truly fine, I smiled cheerfully while making a twisting motion like a hip dance, looking extremely punchable. "I'm really fine, see," very energetic. Lin Nianchu regained her icy expression. Angrily, she immediately raised both hands to push hard against my chest. "Ah, you—" My eyes widened. Before falling backward in a moment of urgency, I tightly clutched her sleeve. Lin Nianchu, startled, was pulled forward by the force of my body falling down, causing her to collapse right on top of me. Terrified, she was sprawled right on my chest, her beautiful eyes staring blankly at me at an extremely close distance. In the eyes of both people, the reflection of the other was imprinted. Right at this moment, the lights at the four corners of the school courtyard suddenly flared brightly. The power was back. The red plastic running track and the lush green grass field were illuminated clearly under the blinding lights. But what left us stunned was that on this school courtyard it wasn't just the two of us. Hundreds of pairs of young men and women were all frozen in place. Some were holding hands, some were shoulder to shoulder, some were face to face but hugging each other and rolling around. On the ground like us wasn't very common. Not far away, 6 middle-aged teachers with expressions dripping with murderous intent slowly advanced onto the track, simultaneously turning off the flashlights in their hands. The grade dean, Gahao, roared, "Everyone freeze for me, each of you. Obediently state your full name in class." Listening to him would be a miracle. All the students on the school courtyard instantly scattered like a broken beehive, scrambling to flee for their lives under the blinding lights. I also hurriedly used one arm to tightly wrap around the slender waist of Lin Nianchu, pushed off the ground with the other hand, and sprang up. Like holding a plush toy, I gently set her down on the ground. I grabbed her hand, merging into the crowd, running like the wind. If a model student like Lin Nianchu got caught, it would be a huge deal. Inviting parents to school would be the lightest punishment. Even though the two of us were completely innocent, I was absolutely sure that if we explained to Gahao that I had nyctophobia, that old man would only throw his head back and laugh out loud. There was no way he'd believe it. "You still dare to run?" "Catch them all for me!" Gahao howled in a hoarse voice, then awkwardly limped forward to chase after them, occasionally reaching his hand to touch the hemorrhoids on his butt. In the middle of the scattering crowd, Lin Nianchu panted heavily, her eyes never leaving my sturdy back. In her mind, she suddenly recalled that embarrassing scene from earlier, though it only lasted for a mere few seconds. It was enough to make the young girl's 2 small ears flush bright red, even until now. I turned my head back to look. Lin Nianchu raised her head and met my gaze. I quirked my lips, flashing a radiant smile at her, then turned my head back to continue sprinting forward. In the end, the two of us successfully escaped into the hallway of Class 28. There were 34 unlucky couples caught red-handed. I was absolutely thrilled, carrying the smug satisfaction of a survivor after a disaster. As we were about to enter the classroom, Lin Nianchu suddenly paused, calling out to stop me. "Chen Huayan, what's up? I'll go in first, okay? Wait for 3 more minutes before you come in." "As expected, you're so thoughtful." "Okay, you go in first." Lin Nianchu kept her head low and quickly brushed past me while I leisurely headed to the restroom to handle my business, only then finally wandering back to the class. Wen Yuanyuan stood on the podium with a dark, unpredictable expression. Rarely seeing her get angry, she slammed the table once. What is this absolute chaos? The power goes out for a bit and you all think you're let out of the cage. The entire class was dead silent. Every single student felt a little guilty and startled. The homeroom teacher, Zhou Zheng, was currently standing at the door with his arms crossed, sweeping a sharp, predatory gaze across the crowd of students. When Yuan Yuan swept her eyes over the entire class, trying to find the owner of that dark hand from earlier. Suddenly, her gaze locked onto Ma Kai-ming, who was sitting in the corner. This vice study rep was staring extremely seriously at the homework in front of him, his face brimming with fake righteousness. When Yuan Yuan shifted her gaze away, thinking, Ma Kai-ming was a child who seemed very well behaved. It's definitely not him, Zhou Zheng stepped up to take over, slamming heavily onto the podium. You guys are pretty capable, aren't you? Gao Kyung, tomorrow call your parents to come here and meet me. Gao Kyung, with a face full of despair, stood up. Fang Yifeng, sitting in his seat, was incredibly rare to not be dozing off. He bit his fingernail, his handsome face looking like Sherlock Holmes as he observed everyone within a 5-meter radius. Just now he had beaten Ma Kai-ming up, but that guy wouldn't admit it even if it killed him, claiming the person who kissed him was someone else. He turned around to look at his deskmate, Chen Fei, and discovered that this girl's 2 cheeks were as bright red as a monkey's butt. What's wrong with you, a fever? Drink plenty of warm water. Thank you. Conversation over. Fang Yifeng continued to assess his surroundings. He suspected that Liu Buneng was the one who kissed him. Meanwhile, Zhou Zheng dragged out a few more kids to give them a piece of his mind. Lin Nianchu and I ultimately came out safe and sound. In both of our hearts, we each carried different, secret joys. Because of the power outage, evening self-study ended earlier than usual. After packing her books into her bag, Lin Nianchu went with me to the parking lot to get our bikes. I asked, getting ready for the interview. Nervous? Lin Nianchu hurriedly nodded. What's there to be nervous about? Later, just think of my dad's head as a big white radish. Whatever he says, just smile, nod, and say yes. Lin Nianchu lowered her face as if amused, her lips slightly curving. I liked seeing her smile, because when this girl smiled, she was absolutely stunning. It was just a pity that every day she put on that ice-cold face. Wheeling the bicycle out to the main road, seeing the young girl carrying her backpack walking all alone, I asked in surprise, "You don't have a bike? Are you planning to walk?" I patted the bicycle seat. Looking at the crowded, bustling flow of people, in front of the school gate, Lin Nianchu froze right in place, her small hand anxiously clutching the fabric of her uniform pants. She resolutely shook her head. When I pressed her again, Lin Nianchu bashfully turned away, her 2 hands tightly clutching the straps of her backpack, keeping her head low as she quietly walked ahead. I got it, this girl was feeling shy. Makes sense. At the school gate, so many eyes were watching. If someone who knew Lin Nianchu discovered that the school's cold, School Beauty was actually sitting on the back of my bicycle, then tomorrow this news would definitely spread like wildfire through the school. I recalled that time when some psycho secretly pushed Lin Nianchu off the steps. I couldn't help but inwardly blame myself for being too careless. Lin Nianchu. She also had a certain reputation at school. If someone bullied her, there would inevitably be people making up rumors to slander her. Wheeled my bicycle and intentionally slowed down, widening a considerable distance from Lin Nianchu. Noticing my tactfulness, her anxious mood also relaxed quite a bit. The youth and the young girl just maintained a distance of about 10 to 12 meters back and forth, slowly pacing along. Lin Nianchu occasionally turned her head back to check if I was still following behind. I then tilted my head, flashing a radiant smile at her. After turning past a few streets, there were no longer any signs of students from No. 7 High School on the road. I pedaled ahead to ride right next to her. Hop on, no one's watching now. Lin Nianchu indeed obediently walked around to the side, lightly tipping her toes to sit down squarely on the bicycle's back seat. If you don't hold on to me, you're bound to fall off in a bit, just watch. Hearing me say that, Lin Nianchu's long, curved eyelashes fluttered slightly. She timidly extended her fair hand, just like a thief, using only a few fingers to lightly pinch the hem of my uniform jacket. I was speechless, pedaling hard once to make the bike zoom forward. Lin Nianchu instantly lost her balance, letting out a sharp cry as she hurriedly wrapped both arms around my waist to hold on tight, her pale pink nails digging in so hard they turned white. No one was watching here anyway, and we weren't doing anything shady. What's wrong with holding onto someone's waist on a bike? Those hidden secret thoughts stashed away at the bottom of a young girl's heart. Of course, I didn't know about them at all. Lin Nianchu lowered her face, her ears gradually turning red, but her arms still maintained the posture of tightly hugging my waist. If the person pedaling was anyone else, Perhaps Lin Nianchu wouldn't bother caring this much, but the person in front was Chen Huayan. Even in her dreams, she could never have imagined that. The youth whom she only had a chance to look at to her heart's content during the 10-minute recess was now carrying her on a bicycle, without anyone knowing. Overcoming the moment of shyness, the corners of the young girl's lips curled into a rare smile full of happiness. If only this world could freeze forever at this moment, that would be so great. She secretly wished in her heart, but Lin Nianchu knew very well that happiness could belong to anyone, but absolutely never to her. She was someone who had been singled out by bad luck ever since she was very little. As for me, I just hummed a few J-Cho songs, leisurely pedaling carefree and relaxed, heading straight toward my family's hypermarket. Lin Nianchu curiously raised her head and asked, "What song are you singing?" "Just a J-Cho song." "I've never heard this one before." I slightly turned my neck, back only then remembering that this song wasn't released until 2014, while right now it was only 2010. I chuckled in amusement, almost forgetting that I had been reincarnated. Living a second life, my first wish was to get into a prestigious university, to make up for the regret of not going to college in my past life. Thinking about those reincarnation novels on the internet, where those guys dive straight into starting a business right after being reborn, it was boring to the extreme. Having lived a second life already, why would I still need to drain all my energy into making money? What is the core most valuable thing about having a second chance? Number 1 is getting your youth back. Number 2 is riding the wave of the era to make a fortune. The main purpose of yours truly after being reincarnated is to fully enjoy my youth. Of course, money can't go unmade, but that has to wait until after the college entrance exam. If I could attend the same university as Lin Nianchu, that would be absolutely wonderful. But I knew this was just wishful thinking. Lin Nianchu's goal must be Tsinghua University or Peking University. Suddenly, I slammed on the brakes, stopping dead. Lin Nianchu was startled, her whole body crashing straight into my back. I put on a thoughtful expression, staring at the red light at the intersection ahead, shouting out a determined slogan, "Lin Nianchu, from now on, I refuse to be the dead last anymore. I must grind hard. I must get into a prestigious university." Below the pedestrian crosswalk line, passers-by curiously turned back to look. The young girl was so embarrassed her ears turned purple. Hiding behind my back, to block the wind, she kept her head low. "I'll do my best to tutor you, okay? It's a green light, hurry up and go." This was the very first time she wanted to give me a beating because of my over-the-top dramatic behavior. "The light is green, hurry up and go." This was the very first time she actually wanted to beat me up for being completely over the top. After a while of pedaling around, the two of us finally arrived at our destination, the Four Seasons Fresh Food Supermarket. In this area around Wangjiang Road, this could be considered fairly large-scale hypermarket. After Lin Nianchu got off the bike, I parked it outside the door, telling her to wait out here for a bit, so I could go inside and give a heads up first. The young girl stood quietly, obediently nodding in agreement, but her fingers constantly tugging at the hem of her shirt betrayed her anxious and uneasy mood. Because this time it wasn't just about applying for a job and meeting the boss, it was also meeting Chen Huayan's dad. Even though she knew very well that meeting my dad didn't carry any profound hidden meaning, she still couldn't help but feel incredibly nervous. I stepped inside the supermarket and saw Chen Tian holding a notebook, comparing things with the items on the shelves, then writing something down. "Dad," I hollered, giving Chen Tian a mini heart attack. Looking at his face when he turned around looking exactly like the actor Wei Xiang, it made me almost burst out laughing. "I brought the person over. Just ask for some basic info, Dad. Don't go asking annoying, dragged-out questions, okay? Where are they? Bring them out. Let me see. Let's see which poor fool is about to have their academic future ruined by you." The father and son walked outside together. Lin Nianchu, standing by the door, immediately turned around. Her long, curved eyelashes lightly fluttered and trembled as she greeted in a nervous voice, "Hello, Uncle?" Chen Tian squeezed out an awkward smile, replying with a "hello there." Right after saying that, he hurriedly grabbed my arm and dragged me straight back inside. "You little rascal, where on earth did you trick such a fine, delicate young girl from? I thought it was a guy. Aren't you afraid her dad will come after you with a machete to fight for his life? She's just my deskmate." Chen Tian immediately gave me a painful flick on the forehead. "Looking at that girl, she's clearly from a good, well-educated family. How could she be short on money? Spit it out, did you scam her or something?" After saying that, he was even about to take off his shoe to hit me. My survival instincts instantly kicked in, and I slipped and dodged the attack. "Scam who? She's doing this completely voluntarily." Chen Tian was losing his mind. "That won't do either. Tell that girl to go home, you little punk. Don't make me lose my entire supermarket because of you," followed by a kick straight to my butt, sending me flying right out the supermarket door. I was forced to make my appearance in an embarrassing pose, stumbling straight outside. Scratching my head with an awkward smile, Chen Huayan, I'll head home first. Keeping her head low, the corners of her mouth tried to force a strained smile, and she turned around to walk back alone into the quiet night. I was caught off guard by this abrupt reaction, hurriedly sprinting to catch up and grab her arm. Wait a minute. The young girl was forced to turn her head back, trying to hide her rimmed red eyes behind her hanging hair, still trying to squeeze out an extremely forced smile. It's late, my dad will probably worry if I don't get back. She must have heard the argument inside just now, but probably couldn't hear the details clearly, only figuring that my dad and I were fighting. A young girl's soul is already sensitive and filled with insecurity. She had come here with an anxious yet hopeful mindset, but hearing that loud argument, she once again blamed all the trouble on herself. I glanced back toward the supermarket door, my hand still firmly gripping her arm, my voice resolute. Just wait here for a little bit longer. Just a moment. If you dare to leave, I won't be nice to you. Don't fight. Who's fighting real men? Never use their mouths to solve a problem. Right after saying that, I marched furiously to the supermarket entrance and kicked the door wide open. Chen Tian, standing next to the cashier counter, turned his head and cursed, "You little rat, do you have a death wish?" I raised 4 fingers, my eyes looking at him with absolute sincerity and determination. As long as you hire her for the upcoming midterm exam, yours truly will make it into the top 40 of the class. Hearing these words, Chen Tian's anger completely vanished into thin air. He narrowed his eyes, looking at me with a highly amused expression, then slammed his notebook onto the counter. Top 30 and you've got a deal. I was shocked. No way. At most top 39. Top 30. Top 36 for top 30. Top 35 Chen Tian. 35 Chen Tian. Gleefully, he pointed his finger at me, laughing triumphantly. It's a deal. No backing out. You set me up again, you old geezer. Chen Tian glared at me once again, pretending to take off his shoe. I quickly dodged backward, getting into a defensive stance. Top 35 it is then, but if you don't make it into the top 35, that girl packs her things immediately and gets the hell out. Your dad keeps his word. The total class size was 53 students. Wanting to make it into the top 35 was equivalent to the fact that I had to climb up at least 500 ranks across the entire grade with only a little over a month left. Just as I was about to go out and call Lin Nianchu, Chen Tian's voice suddenly came from behind. Do you like that girl? I froze for a second. Look at your pathetic self. As if someone like her would ever care to look at you. No matter how much you sacrifice for her, she won't even look your way in the future. Drop that simp mindset for me. I clicked my tongue, letting his words go in one ear and out the other. My feelings for Lin Nianchu were completely pure. I doted on her like my own daughter. Yours truly, here would never have a simp mindset. When I stepped outside the supermarket, Lin Nianchu was very obedient, so she hadn't left yet. Except the girl who was originally standing under the bright lights by the entrance had now shrunk back into a dark corner. That small silhouette looked pitifully lonely and isolated, as if just a single cold gust of wind blowing by would make her merge into the dark, damp night and completely vanish. Seeing this scene, an indescribable ache welled up in my heart. I intentionally asked anyway, "What are you doing standing here? You scared me." Lin Nianchu quickly stepped out into the light. I was about to speak when I noticed a faint tear at the corner of her eye that she hadn't wiped away in time. Oh no, a customer just walked past, so I stepped aside a bit. I grabbed her hand and pulled her straight into the supermarket, leading her right in front of Chen Tian. "Follow me, young lady, let me show you around." Chen Tian spoke up, glancing at Lin Nianchu's pink backpack. It seemed he had vaguely guessed something, but he didn't expose it. Lin Nianchu quietly followed behind, pulling a notebook and a pen out from her bag, her expression incredibly attentive. Like a student listening to a lecture, Chen Tian chuckled, looking at the girl. "No need to be so formal. There's no critically important task here. Besides, you're only here to do part-time work at night, right?" "Yes, sir." The two walked ahead, while I walked behind, feeling exactly like I was watching my own well-behaved, precious daughter, gently smiling as I looked at Lin Nianchu's back. As Chen Tian walked, he introduced the tasks that needed to be done. Although the work wasn't much and wasn't heavy, Lin Nianchu still carefully took notes on every word he said. Roughly speaking, the job was just rearranging goods on the shelves, collecting money at the checkout counter, and when there were fewer customers at night, casually cleaning and wiping things down. Remember to keep the fresh meat counter chilled. Right after saying that, he pointed at a pile of trash nearby, then glanced at me. "Clean up that pile of trash later." "Why don't you clean it up yourself, Dad?" Instead of waiting for me to do it. "Hey, your dad is the boss here." After showing her around, the three of them returned to the checkout counter. Chen Tian grabbed his jacket, saying, "Show your friend how to operate the register. I'm heading home first." Waiting until Chen Tian's figure disappeared. I turned to Lin Nianchu. Go ahead and wander around to take a look and get familiar with the store. I'll write down a list of work notes for you. A few minutes later, after finishing writing, I looked up and saw Chen Tian heading back into the store. He forgot his damn bag. I couldn't care less about him, but just a moment later I saw him standing, completely frozen in his tracks, staring in one direction. Fearing that something had happened to Lin Nianchu, I hurriedly ran over to Chen Tian's side. Both father and son stood dead silent between the two shelves. The young girl was kneeling on the floor, using a rag from some unknown foolish place, diligently scrubbing the floor. Her back looked quiet and patient, meticulous and focused, silently performing what she considered to be her duty. Witnessing this scene, Chen Tian's face showed a hint of emotion. He turned his head back in silence, his voice dropping low. Who on earth is that girl? Taking a deep breath, my heart was a messy jumble of memories. A very mature and sensible child, Chen Tian. Glancing at me, he dropped his voice to threaten. If you don't make it into the top 35, she packs her bags and gets out, no negotiations. After saying that, he grabbed his bag and walked straight out, this cold-blooded old geezer. This time, I'm definitely making it into the top 35 just to show him. Even if it wasn't for Lin Nianchu, for the sake of the college entrance exam, I also have to give it my all from now on. With only a short year of time left, I have to use a brain that has been rusting for the past 15 years to make up for 2 whole years of empty knowledge. Time is tight and the tasks are piling up, but when it comes to putting effort into studying, completely unlike my past life, this time I don't reject it, even a single bit. I understand clearly what I ultimately want in this life. I walked toward the young girl who was kneeling and cleaning on the floor. Lin Nianchu? Turning her head to look at me, she slowly stood up, holding the dirty rag, her eyes filled with questions. Seeing her completely casual, unbothered expression, I knew right away that she didn't care in the slightest about having to kneel and clean the floor. I stepped forward to stand in front of her, and still couldn't help but raise my hand to give her forehead a gentle flick. Are you stupid? There's a mop over there? Why aren't you using it? Why on earth do you have to kneel down and use a rag like this, dummy? Lin Nianchu tightly closed her eyes, shrinking her neck back, a hint of feeling wronged showing in her eyes as she looked up at me. But I only saw the rag. I unceremoniously helped her dust off the dirt clinging to her knees. Even so, it's not your turn to clean. Lin Nianchu bashfully took a step back. The uncle said when there are few customers at night, I can clean up at will. You dare to talk back to me. I pointed my finger at her, putting on a stern face. Lin Nianchu reflexively backed up, closing her eyes in fear, but I didn't do anything. Throw the rag away, it's filthy. Throw it over there, throw it right in front of me. Lin Nianchu kept her head low, her cheeks flushing completely red from being yelled at. In the end, she still had to gently set the rag down on the floor, following me past a tiny stall. I knew right away that was the broom closet. Go inside and wash your hands first, then come out to the checkout counter to find me. Lin Nianchu washed her hands clean and came over to the checkout counter to see me rummaging through the drawer to pull out some red bills. There were 5 bills in total. Come here, hold out your hand. Lin Nianchu froze, staring at me without extending her hand at all. I explained, this is the policy of my family's supermarket at the beginning of the month. We get a salary advance. It's the same for absolutely everyone. Lin Nianchu seemingly saw right through all my hidden schemes. Her beautiful eyes stared intently and pierced into me. I tapped my hand on the counter, puffing out my chest. What are you looking at? Are you doubting me? Lin Nianchu again lowered her head in silence, not answering. I don't need an advance. I want to receive my salary on the same day as everyone else. I slammed hard onto the counter and pointed at her face. Are you the boss or am I the boss? Huh. Do you believe I'll fire you right now, Lin Nianchu? Raising her face, her gaze was as flat as a serene lake as she stared intently at me. Her expression looked exactly like she wanted to say, is that all you've got? Not being in a rush, I slowly uttered, looks like you want me to tell your dad about the thing you did the other day. Hearing my words, Lin Nianchu turned pale frantically, snatching the 500 RMB and clutching it tightly against her chest. I smiled triumphantly. Your working hours are short, so your minimum salary each month is 500 RMB. If you do well, who knows, I might give you a raise. Speaking up to here, I leaned my body forward. Of course, if you know a way to please the boss, with some entertainment, the matter of a raise is easily negotiable. Right after that sentence, Lin Nianchu's 2 ears flushed completely red all the way to her jawline. She brought her remaining hand up to tightly hold the 500 RMB bill against her chest, her expression both tense, embarrassed, and annoyed. Where are your thoughts drifting off to? I stood up and sat squarely on the checkout counter, unable to resist reaching out to ruffle her hair. I mean, telling you to smile a bit more. That's also a way to please the boss. Plus tutoring me in my schoolwork. Lin Nianchu immediately raised her head, speaking with an incredibly serious expression. I will definitely tutor you. I know that was originally your task anyway this Saturday. Remember to come to my house. Oh, right. How do you plan to handle this first month's salary? I pointed at the 500 RMB bill she was clutching tightly against her chest. Then did Lin Nianchu suddenly remember, hurriedly using both hands to pull out a 100 RMB bill. Here's the money for you. I reached my hand out to take it. Got it. After putting the money away, I noticed the young girl's 2 cheeks were flushing, red, looking hesitant as if she wanted to say something but stopped. What's wrong? Lin Nianchu's voice was as tiny as a mosquito's buzz. Give me back my 13.5 for MB change. I froze for a moment, then burst out into a loud laugh. Right. I almost forgot to take out the small change to give it back to you. Lin Nianchu again extended both hands to receive the money. Aren't you going to count it? Lin Nianchu immediately shook her head, her fair, smooth face now blushing bright red like a tomato. What do you plan to do with the remaining money? In 2010, for a high school student, having 400 RMB in hand could already be considered a massive fortune. Lin Nianchu, with an incredibly serious face, listed them out. 100 RMB to top up my meal card. 100 RMB to buy practice exam books. Speaking up to here, she paused. As for the remaining money, it seemed she hadn't thought of what to do with it yet. I reminded her, set aside 50 RMB to buy the class uniform. Lin Nianchu raised her head, looking blank for a moment, then shook her head. I'm not buying the class uniform. I leaned both hands on the checkout counter, tilting my neck back to look at the ceiling. True, it's only worn for the parade during the opening ceremony of the sports meet, but Lin Nianchu, our youth only happens once. 10 or so years later, maybe I will regret not studying hard back then, and you will also regret why you didn't wear a really beautiful skirt to participate in the final sports meet of your high school years. After saying that, I lowered my head to look at the girl with the delicate features, using a gaze full of smiling intent to look at her. Lin Nianchu retracted her gaze, quietly thinking. By reflex, her fingers tightened, yet she couldn't bear to crumple the crisp red bills in her hand. Seeing that she was still going through a psychological struggle, I didn't find it annoying but only felt an ache in my heart. It was just 50 RMB, yet she felt as if she was using her entire life to make a decision. How about this? Just take the money to buy it. After the sports meet ends, you can sell that worn uniform back to me. I'll buy it at 80% of the price. Lin Nianchu looked at me with a baffled gaze. I instructed her with an incredibly serious face. Remember, it must be unwashed. Returning home that evening, I saw my parents sitting in the living room, looking at me with highly amused expressions. Clearly, Chen Tian had already spilled everything that happened today to his wife. You little brat, if you don't make it into the top 35 of the class, your dad keeps his word. Tu Xiaoya was curious about another matter. Old Chen, did you say that girl looks really pretty and delicate? Is that true? Chen Tian furrowed his brows. Why would I lie to you? She's as beautiful as a fairy descended to earth. Next time there's a parent-teacher meeting for our son, let me go and see. Tu Xiaoya seemed excited. Chen Tian turned around, asking me with a curious look, what does that girl's family do for a living? Looking at that face and aura, she doesn't seem like a kid from an ordinary family. Why on earth is she short on money? I shrugged, indicating I wasn't sure either. Just looking at Lin Nianchu's appearance and aura, indeed, no one would ever suspect that she would actually reach the point where she didn't even have the money to buy a 1 RMB piece of bread. I also felt quite curious. What exactly was her family situation like? But this involved her privacy. Prying too deep would only backfire. While drinking water, I suddenly saw my younger sister's bedroom door crack open. That little rascal poked her head out, waving her hand to call me bro, big bro, Chen Yi. Tong dragged me into her room, sat down on the edge of the bed, and tightly hugged my arm with a sly look, leaning her tiny head on my shoulder. Bro, tomorrow afternoon, can you go to number 65 middle school to attend the parent-teacher meeting for me? I pinched that little rascal's cheek, raising her face up. What exactly is going on? Chen Yitong put on a face full of grievance. I lied to Mom and Dad. In the last final exam, I didn't make it into the top 20. Hoo, if Mom finds out, she will definitely spank my butt raw. Fine, but only this one time, okay? Yay! Big brother is the absolute best. The next day during recess, between classes, I saw Lin Nianchu holding a 100 RMB bill walking toward the class monitor, Zhao Zimo. After reporting her shirt size, she took the 50 RMB change and walked back. Shen Shiyu turned her head to look, her face filled with utter astonishment. Lin Nianchu is actually participating in the parade this time, in the sports meet. So the girl walking at the front holding the class name sign probably has to be changed too. Returning to her seat, Lin Nianchu suddenly whispered into my ear while I was reading a book. Thank you. After saying that, her ears flushed red as she turned her face away, holding her book upright to hide the side of her delicate face. I let out a soft chuckle and then continued reading my book. By the second period of the afternoon, Lin Nianchu noticed that her deskmate still hadn't shown up at all. Clearly, I had ditched class. I took off my uniform jacket, put on a hoodie, shoved both hands into my pants pockets, and leisurely strolled toward the gate of Lucheng number 65 Middle School. It's been so long since I last came here. Inadvertently, I remembered the uncle wearing overalls from back then. Crossing the street indeed, right next to the green belt, I caught sight of that familiar silhouette still sitting up straight and proper, just like old times. I turned into a convenience store to buy 2 lollipops, then walked over there. I went and sat down next to the green belt, casually handing him a lollipop. The uncle wearing overalls happily took it. "Thank you." Turning his head, he seemed to freeze a bit, and finally smiled with absolute joy, calling out, "Little Monk." "Little Monk." I grinned widely. As expected, it was still that familiar nickname from back then. During middle school, I always rocked a buzz cut, so he kept calling me Little Monk. We hadn't met in over 2 years, yet he still recognized me. Right at this moment, an old voice sounded from behind. He's waiting for his daughter to get out of school, but he always forgets that. His daughter is already in high school. I turned my head and saw an old sanitation worker. "Grandpa, do you know him?" The old man sat down beside me. "Of course I know him. His family is incredibly pitiful. Don't judge by how slow and foolish he looks now. Back in the 90s, he was actually a big boss full of style and charisma." I glanced at the handsome uncle in overalls, feeling a bit stunned. The old man continued his story. Later on, he was set up and scammed by others. His company went bankrupt. His house, his car, everything had to be sold off. He had a son and a daughter. The family of 4 was poor, but they could still scrape by with porridge day by day. Who would have thought his wife would get leukemia, and with no money for treatment, she passed away after hanging on for a year? I sank into silence. After his wife died, he took his 2 kids and continued to get by. A few years later, God truly had no mercy. His son was only a few days away from taking the exam to enter high school when he was hit by a car. The boy thought he was fine, took the 500 RMB compensation from the driver, and limped his way back home. As it turned out, that very night, he passed away. 500 RMB exchanged for a human life. Hearing this, I felt like I stopped breathing. After suffering so many consecutive blows like that, he couldn't take it and went completely mad. The old man dropped his hands and sighed. His life is truly too bitter. Doesn't he still have a daughter left? The old man shook his head with a bitter smile. The most pitiful one is that daughter. When the family went bankrupt, the little girl was only 3 years old. From the moment she became aware of things until now, she hasn't had a single happy day. Her brother died and her dad went mad. A tiny little girl at such a young age, going to school while taking care of her dad and taking such good care of him too. It's truly too hard for a child. It's true that the rope always breaks at the thinnest part, and bad luck always searches for the miserable. The old man stood up and walked away. I sat completely frozen in place, shifting my eyes to look at the uncle in overalls next to me. After that, I hurried over to the convenience store, bought a huge bag of bread to bring back, and stuffed it into his arms. As I stood up, I saw Chen Yitong already waiting at the school gate. The little girl was waving her hand and calling me. Not until evening self-study started did I finally finish the parent-teacher meeting and rush back to school. Reaching the classroom door, I ran right into Lin Nianchu walking out from the teacher's office. "What did you go to the office for?" The 2 of us blurted out the question almost in unison. This sudden synchronicity made Lin Nianchu lower her head in embarrassment. I smiled and said, "I went to a parent-teacher meeting for my little sister." "What about you?" Lin Nianchu slightly shook her head. "It's nothing." During evening self-study, while everyone was burying their heads in their homework, I only pulled out my textbooks to intensely devour the theoretical concepts. After all, the teachers had already given up on me anyway. After intensely devouring the entire volume 1 of the 10th grade math textbook, I closed the book and let my eyes drift over the delinquent students sitting in the back row. My class had a total of 53 students, which meant I had to beat 18 people to squeeze my way into the top 35, but making it into the top 35 of the class was by no means my ultimate goal. For English, I was completely confident. Who knows, even Lin Nianchu might not beat me. However, for the other subjects, I didn't dare boast arrogantly, especially math and physics. My gaze inadvertently stopped at the spot where Fang Yifeng was snoring loudly. This guy's academic rank in class was locked in at the bottom 10. But in the college entrance exam of my past life, he actually clutched up and scored over 600 points, truly fitting the definition of a legend. The person who caused him to change so spectacularly was the English teacher Wen Wanyuan. Later on, rumor had it that he even married teacher Wen Yuan, having kids together, and the family of three lived an incredibly happy and fulfilling life. Except his turning point didn't happen until the second semester. Because of a woman in just a single semester, he went from a bottom-tier student to pulling off a spectacular counterattack, scoring over 600 on the college entrance exam. The sleep god Fang Yifang in my heart was the true definition of a real man. I walked outside to use the restroom. When I came back, I found Lin Nianchu completely gone, and her backpack had also flown away. Where did Lin Nianchu go? I don't know. She grabbed her bag and left. I looked up at the homeroom teacher, Zhou Zheng. I noticed he was standing on the podium, staring at me intently with a meaningful look. His right hand formed a bent V sign, pointing at his own eyes, then pointing his hand right back at me. I'm keeping an eye on you. Evening self-study ended, and I pedaled my bike to the supermarket, finding Chen Tian slouched over the checkout counter, looking in the mirror to trim his nose hair while looking up at me. Don't you and that girl get out of school at the same time? Did she come? She came a long time ago. She's working right over there. This girl is really hardworking, infinitely better than a lazy bum like you. 2951. I turned my head and happened to see Lin Nianchu. Lin Nian, wearing a red vest, carrying a broom and a trash bin as she walked over. Strands of hair drenched in sweat clung to her fair, pale face. This red vest was the supermarket's employee uniform. Before I used to complain that it was hideously ugly, but when Lin Nianchu wore it, for some reason I found it kind of ugly cute. Actually, no, the cuteness was because of the person wearing it. The uniform itself was still vomit ugly. Seeing me, Lin Nianchu's movements froze for a beat, her expression looking slightly unnatural. Shifting her gaze away, she looked over at Chen Tian. Uncle, should these empty bottles be thrown away too? Chen Tian nodded. Throw them away, dear. Just throw them in the trash bin outside over there. Lin Nianchu's face showed clear hesitation and reluctance. But these bottles can be sold to scrap collectors for money, Uncle. Ha, they only sell for a few pennies. Just throw them away, kiddo. I slammed my hand onto the counter, in front of my dad. Wasting things is shameful. Every little bit adds up, don't you know that, Dad? Go find a burlap sack and gather all these empty bottles. The latter half of the sentence was me turning to give orders to Lin Nianchu. She smiled happily, nodding, and immediately went to find the sack. Chen Tian was dumbfounded by his son lecturing him out of nowhere. I lowered my voice to whisper, Dad just let her do things casually. She only gets paid 500 RMB a month, and this supermarket is massive. Do you plan to make her clean the whole place up, all by herself? She's the one who asked to clean, it's not like I forced her. Thinking about it, that made sense. With this girl's stubborn personality, she would absolutely do something like that. I tossed my bag onto the checkout counter and walked toward Lin Nianchu, who was busy cleaning, grabbing her arm and dragging her into a blind spot. You went to the teacher's office to ask the homeroom teacher to let you leave early, didn't you? And you were planning to slip away early. While I wasn't paying attention, huh? The young girl was completely speechless, unable to argue a single word. She could only lower her face, her two tiny hands, nervously squeezing the empty plastic bottle. I snatched the plastic bottle from her hand and slammed it against the wall behind her. Got caught, didn't you? Speak up. Do you think working a few extra hours means I'll give you a raise? No way in hell is that happening. Lin Nianchu snapped her head up to look at me, her clear dark eyes filled with utter sincerity. I didn't have any intention of asking for a raise. Evening self-study ends at 9 p.m., and by a bit past 10 o'clock p.m. I'm already done with my work and heading home. Working for only exactly 1 hour every day, yet receiving a whopping 500 RMB in monthly salary. She lowered her head, her voice stubborn and resolute. 500 RMB is too much. How on earth is 500 RMB too much? I completely short-circuited and froze right on the spot. Do you even know how much the other employees make? Lin Nianchu shook her head. I don't care how much they get paid, but mine is definitely a higher pay. Since you pay me more, I have to work more. No pain, no gain. You really are. Why is your personality so stubborn? My two claws reached out to squeeze her soft, rosy cheeks so frustrated my teeth itched. Lin Nianchu glanced at the two hands framing her face, nervously taking a step back, as she threatened, if you bully me, I'm telling your dad. Fine. I completely threw my hands up. I was truly left speechless by this stubborn girl. Taking a deep breath, I said, do whatever you want, just don't let it delay your studying, got it? Seeing that I was willing to step back and compromise Lin Nianchu immediately flashed a brilliant, staggeringly beautiful smile. She nodded vigorously. Looking at the young girl's back, I felt totally helpless, but a warm smile still spread across my face. 1 year later, on the day the results of the college entrance exam were announced, I ranked 7th in the entire school, while Lin Nianchu ranked 3rd in the entire province. The night the scores were released, I pedaled my bike to give her a ride home. When passing by the door of that supermarket from years ago, Lin Nian turned around. From behind, suddenly wrapped her arms tightly around my waist, pressing her soft cheek against my back. Chen Huayan, everything I owe you, I won't ever be able to fully repay it. I slammed on the bicycle brakes, turning my head back to look at her. Under the shining moonlight, the young girl's ears had flushed completely red, again, but this time she didn't dodge my gaze at all. Chen Huayan, when we go to college, we'll still see each other, right? I blanked out for a good 3 seconds, and then grinned widely like an absolute idiot. The gentle night breeze blew across Wangjiang Road. One blew, backpacks hanging from both sides of the bicycle handlebars swayed, gently as if on behalf of their owners, fulfilling a promise of youth.